I'm cultivating immortality with the science of mortals. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 576, Regaining the Body. After the attack, Xiangzila's aura quickly weakened again, as if he had just performed some explosive secret technique. Only Xiangzili himself knew that with just one attack, his lifespan was reduced by 1 year. The power of the terrifying ape-head self-explosion was very terrifying. The Rakshasa ghost hand even damaged a lot of spirituality, but it also made the parasitic bloodworms that had originally gathered together no longer able to resist the formless golden light, and they were wiped out in an instant. Seeing that Xiangzili finally made a move, Luo Hong immediately realized that his performance time was over. It is difficult to refine the Wuxiang fusion spirit talisman. Luo Hong did not want to waste the power of this talisman in vain, and immediately his whole body flashed with golden light and turned back to human form. As Xiaojin's phantom emerged from behind him, Luo Hong's heightened appearance gradually returned to their original state. When the talisman paper fell into his palm, Luo Hong only felt a heavy sense of weakness. However, this was mostly just an illusion, just like a person who came ashore after swimming. The remaining 30% of the Black Crow True Flame was still attached to Luo Hong. At this moment, he watched Xiangzili offer a wooden bowl to cover the rapidly recovering blood-sucking worm mother, but he felt a little uneasy in his heart. The blood-crying ancestor had not yet appeared, which always made him uneasy. Has this old demon been killed by the backup I left in the third sealed place? Otherwise, why is there no movement until now? It's really strange. Before Luo Hong's voice fell, Xiangzili suddenly frowned and looked down at the sealed stone platform below. He saw that the blood band that originally surrounded the sealed stone platform had collapsed. The accumulated sealing power rushed in and immediately broke the sealed stone platform into powder, and the sealed insect body was almost turned into mincemeat. But this change made the blood-sucking worm mother surprised and happy. It instantly became energetic and connected to this 1/3 of the insect body, and suddenly the minced meat rolled towards it. Xiangzili thought he was in trouble and quickly stretched out his hand to press down the wooden bowl, which had grown to a diameter of nearly 100 feet. Then, countless green branches stretched out from the wooden bowl, piercing into the body of the blood-sucking mother worm, absorbing its demonic power and blood, and thus sealing it. In the eyes of Luo Hong outside, countless plants grew on the outer wall of the wooden bowl at this time, and they were growing at a very fast speed, as if there was an infinite supply of nutrients. Facing the minced meat that was about to flow into the wooden bowl, Xiangzili opened his hands and summoned the gilded red fire flag again. With a wave, hundreds of Haoang birds flapped their wings and flew out, swooping down from the sky, turning the ground into a sea of fire. Even the demon body of the blood-sucking mother worm could no longer survive after suffering a double blow. It didn't last for a while before it was burned to ashes by the raging red flames. But before Xiangzili could breathe a sigh of relief, 9 blood-colored spots suddenly lit up and then turned into 9 blood rays that rushed straight to the wooden bowl magic weapon that had turned into a green mountain. Although these 9 blood rays were not in the shape of swords, they were extremely sharp. They pierced through the wooden bowl directly like tofu and sank into the body of the blood-sucking worm mother. The next moment, a refreshing and sharp insect chirping sound came from the wooden bowl. I saw that at the end of the blood-sucking worm mother's body, the smooth cross-section suddenly rolled up blood and flesh. In a few breaths, its body doubled in length. Along with it came a significant improvement in cultivation. Originally, it had to rely on burning its original essence and blood to barely reach the level of transformation. Now, its original cultivation has been restored to the level of entering the transformation of the god, and burning its original essence and blood is naturally a step up. Its counterattack also followed. At the same time, all the green branches that pierced its body were stained with a layer of blood, and the blood mist quickly eroded the wooden bowl along them. At this time, in the eyes of Luo Hong outside, the originally lush vegetation on the outer wall of the wooden bowl withered and decayed in an instant. After a light sigh, Xiangzili stretched out his hand and grabbed it. Suddenly, there was a tremor, and a 100-foot wooden bowl flew up and became smaller and smaller. When it returned to Xiangzila's hand, it had become the size of an ordinary rice bowl, but there were 9 more holes on it, and blood mist remained in some areas. There is no need to check it out. After this incident, the grade of this treasure must have dropped sharply. Since the battle with the blood-sucking worm mother, Xiangzili has lost no less than 3 magic weapons, and each of them is the best among the magic weapons. Even with his wealth, it is inevitable that he feels a little heartbroken. After escaping, the blood-sucking worm mother did not commit a crime again, but went straight to the 3rd sealed place without looking back. Oh my goodness, this is the end of me. Should I run away? Luo Hong's face was stiff. He never expected that Xiang Leogi would get out of this again. If this old monster can find the last part of his body, he will be at least in the early stage of the transformation of the spirit, not to mention recovering to the middle stage of the transformation of the spirit. If he explodes again, he will basically be on par with Xiang Leogi in terms of cultivation. It is impossible for Xiang Leogi to take down this kind of monster alone, unless he doesn't want to die. Brother Luo, you don't have to worry about this matter. Xiang will deal with this monster alone. Xiangzili said calmly, and without waiting for Luo Hong's response, he flew after the blood-sucking worm mother. Well, Xiang Leogi is really angry, and I don't know where his confidence comes from. No, I have to go and see. Luo Hong, who was getting more and more worried, thought about it, and turned into a black light and followed. Luo Hong originally thought that this chase would definitely lead to the 3rd sealed place, but unexpectedly, 6 purple rays rushed towards him halfway. Luo Hong naturally recognized the breath of the flying purple striped scorpion. After getting in touch with it, he immediately knew that the blood-crying ancestor was the culprit of the incident. At the same time, the blood-sucking worm mother, eager for revenge, did not hesitate to consume the essence of her origin and blood, and soon pulled away from Xiangzili. Xiangzili did not know what to do. Although he was also trying his best to catch up, he did not break through the spirit transformation boundary and consume his lifespan to chase. He knew very well that, since he was already a step slower, he would definitely not be able to stop the blood-sucking worm mother. After this old monster obtained the last part of the insect body, he would definitely seek revenge on him, so it was not important whether he could catch up now. Not long after, the blood-sucking worm mother came to the sky above the 3rd sealed land, and with a strange roar, it broke the illusionary here, and lifted up countless soil and rocks. When it saw the situation at the sealed stone platform, its anger deepened by 3 points. Human, is this your real purpose? You actually want to steal the body of this insect mother? As expected, all human cultivators deserve to die. I saw that the place where the sealed stone platform was originally located had become a deep pit, and the blood-crying ancestor was sitting cross-legged in the middle of a pile of mincemeat, with 9 blood-colored light balls spinning around him at high speed. Chapter 577, The Treasure of the Guardian World. Facing the roar of the blood-sucking worm mother, the blood-crying ancestor said nothing, and the spell in his hand suddenly changed. Suddenly, the 9 blood balls whooshed and all poured into the blood-crying ancestor's body, trying to merge with the drop of essence blood he had initially refined. Seeing this, the blood-sucking worm mother was immediately furious. If the other party successfully merged with it, it would lose this part of its body forever. So, without thinking, it opened its huge mouth and swallowed the blood-crying ancestor. Just as he was about to use his demonic power to take back the essence of the blood-sucking worm mother suddenly froze, and then said in a chilling tone, "Human race, you actually want to take over this worm mother? You really overestimate your own abilities. Lord Worm Mother, I'm the light of a firefly. How dare I compete with your bright moon? However, it is not difficult to let your bright moon be stained with a little color of mine." The blood-crying ancestor seemed to be completely unaware of the threat of the blood-sucking worm mother, and said with a sense of relief. As soon as he finished speaking, the blood-sucking worm mother screamed in extreme fear. "No, you lunatic, what did you do to this worm mother's essence of the blood? Get out of this worm mother. Get out." Just as the blood-sucking worm mother rolled on the ground frantically, its demonic body began to grow and lengthen again, but the blood-sucking worm mother seemed to be very resistant to this. But it couldn't stop this change, because it was just an appearance. The key was that it had just been impatient to refine the 9 balls of essence blood. Gradually, the twisting body of the blood-sucking worm mother showed signs of incoordination, as if another consciousness was fighting for control of the demon body. When Zhangzili chased here, he saw this scene. The blood corpse life extending method? No, not entirely. When saying this, Zhangzili did not hide anything, so Luo Hong naturally heard it clearly. The so-called blood corpse life extending method is also a kind of blood path magical power, but it is not common. First of all, if you want to use this method, you must be a Yuanying stage cultivator who practices a blood path method. When this kind of cultivator reaches the end of his lifespan, but there is still no hope of breaking through, many people will consider the magical power of extending life. The blood corpse life extending method is a magical power that can reduce the cultivator from the human path to the corpse path, thereby greatly increasing his lifespan. Compared to the tens of thousands of years of life of the corpse kings, the 1000-year lifespan of the human Yuanying cultivators is simply incomparable. However, even among those old demons who meet the conditions for cultivation, only a very small number will choose this path. Not to mention that, after falling into the corpse path, one will become neither human nor ghost and fall into a long sleep. Just the subsequent mental changes have discouraged many old demons who know this method. Basically, after transforming oneself into a blood corpse, one's spiritual wisdom will continue to lose and become a muddle-aided existence until the corpse king is fully developed, that is, the late Yuanying, can wake up. And the consciousness that wakes up at this time is already difficult to equate with the previous cultivator. The blood corpse life extending method performed by the blood crying ancestor has obviously been transformed by him. For a while, Zhangzili could not clearly see the difference, and he did not intend to see it clearly. Zhangzili is well aware of the principle of taking advantage of his illness to kill him. Regardless of what the blood crying ancestor and the blood sucking worm mother are doing, he flicked his sleeves and sacrificed 9 simple bronze tripods. He made a solemn gesture and chanted a spell, then raised his hand and shot a beam of magic light at each of the 9 bronze tripods. Then he waved his hand heavily, causing the 9 bronze tripods to scatter around the blood-sucking worm mother. When they fell to the ground with a clang, each of them had turned into a 3-meter high tripod. Luo Hong looked into the tripod and saw that it was filled with silver liquid with a faint spiritual light. After just one more glance, he felt a tingling sensation in his soul, so he quickly withdrew his gaze. Such a rich power of law, could it be that thing? The voice of the silver fairy sounded in Luo Hong's heart, and she seemed to be very interested in the silver liquid in the 9 tripods. Oh. Fairy recognizes this thing. It must be of great origin. Luo Hong nodded slightly in his heart. With the former identity of the silver fairy, it is naturally not an ordinary thing that can catch her eye. Daoist Luo, don't think about this thing, otherwise there will be more trouble than benefit. Fairy Silver reminded meaningfully. But after hearing her words, Luo Hong became even more curious and asked politely, these silver liquids contain a lot of law power. If you can get it to comprehend day and night, it must be very helpful for comprehending the law. Why does Fairy say that this thing is troublesome? Daoist Luo is right, but if you feel it carefully, these law powers are really ownerless. Fairy Silver did not point it out directly, but asked Luo Hong in return. Since you said so, it must have an owner. After Luo Hong secretly complained, his brows gradually frowned. It is actually very easy to distinguish whether the law power has an owner or not. The law power with an owner is driven by people, and it flows without any disorder, while the ownerless is just the opposite. Disorder and chaos are its main theme, and it will be wiped out by the way of heaven if you are not careful. The power of the laws of the silver liquid in the 9 cauldrons seemed extremely chaotic and disordered to Luo Hong, as if it deliberately didn't want people to comprehend it. Logically speaking, these laws must be ownerless, so how could the silver fairy be? No. It was so chaotic, and the aura was spreading without any cover. Why didn't the heavenly Dao react at all? This thing is equivalent to the core secret of the company. Even if it is very chaotic, it is impossible to leave it alone. Normally, these silver liquids should have been targeted by the heavenly Dao and wiped out. Unless these silver liquids are within the rules of the heavenly Dao, Good guy, with this thing, won't you be under the attention of the heavenly Deo all the time? Thinking of this, Luo Hong subconsciously stepped back. He was a wanted criminal of the heavenly Deo, and it was inevitable that he felt a little guilty. It seems that fellow Daoist Luo has figured it out. This set of world protecting treasures is extremely hot to the hand for a restless cultivator like you. Although the aura of the laws in it is unusually clear, the heavenly Deo of your human world has already made some adjustments, and it is basically impossible to gain any insights from it. Otherwise, that old man wouldn't be so restrained in dealing with a divine insect demon. As if she knew what Luo Hong would ask next, Fairy Silver paused and then spoke again. As for this world protecting treasure, it is actually a treasure evolved by the heavenly Deo in a small interface like the human world. It is for the purpose of helping the creatures in this interface to deal with invaders from across the world. Therefore, although it is powerful, there are many restrictions on its use, and the holder may not encounter an opportunity to use it once in his lifetime. However, this old monster is a thoroughly alien creature, and with a huge amount of evil spirit from the human world entangled in him, he will definitely be able to easily activate the power of the world protecting treasure. Chapter 578, Unexpected Backlash. As he spoke, thick black clouds rolled out from one point, and a breath that Luo Hong was very familiar with gradually filled the sky above the Wuhan mountains. At this moment, Luo Hong completely understood Xiangzili's plan. He wanted to use the power of the heavenly tribulation to chop the blood-sucking worm mother half to death, and then he would take action to finish it. This way, it can be said to be foolproof, but Xiangzili must have to pay some price, otherwise he would not hide until now. As for the current abnormality of the blood-sucking worm mother, Luo Hong could clearly sense that two consciousnesses coexisted in that huge and ugly insect body. As he expected, the blood-crying ancestor was not going to be a human anymore. He wanted to take over the blood-sucking worm mother. This old demon is even crazier than the former King Guiyang old demon. Although he used the blood corpse to extend his life and integrated his soul into the blood and flesh regenerated by the blood-sucking worm mother, which eliminated part of the gap between him and the blood-sucking worm mother in the realm of the soul, Luo Hong still believed that he had no chance of success. But these have nothing to do with Luo Hong. He has no urgent need for the blood-crying ancestor and the blood-sucking worm mother. For him, the greatest significance of this trip is to complete Lu Zhu's entrustment and to get in touch with Xiangzili. Therefore, at present, he is completely in a spectator's attitude, ready to appreciate Xiangzili's performance. To be honest, this set of protective treasures is quite good for him. It would be best if he can find its weakness after observation later. The calamity clouds in the sky are getting thicker and thicker, and the dull thunder comes from the depths of the clouds, as if accumulating strength. Luo Hong secretly calculated that it is estimated that there are less than 10 breaths before the calamity thunder will fall. But at this moment, Luo Hong and Xiangzili discovered at the same time that the incoordination of the blood-sucking worm mother's body disappeared in an instant. At first, Luo Hong suspected that the consciousness of the blood-crying ancestor and the blood-sucking worm mother chose to temporarily join forces under external pressure. But soon, he found that he was wrong. The consciousness of the two people actually merged together quickly, giving birth to a new consciousness. It is neither the blood-crying ancestor nor the blood-sucking worm mother, but it has all the memories of both. This discovery really surprised Luo Hong. Because in this way, the blood-crying ancestor and the blood-sucking worm mother, in a sense, have been dead since just now. This is impossible. Even if this old monster takes this wave of thunder tribulation, it may not die. It still has a chance to resist, but now it has merged and immediately fallen. The answer to this multiple choice question is so obvious, it doesn't make sense for it to choose the wrong one. Luo Hong frowned, puzzled. Suddenly, his eyes widened, as if he thought of something, and said with a look of sudden realization, unless the blood-crying ancestor's original purpose was not to seize the body, but to achieve such a fusion of the soul. No, to be precise, it should be the soul pollution. The blood-sucking worm mother has a special form of existence, and all its cultivation is in the insect body, and the blood-crying ancestor uses the blood corpse to extend life method to integrate the soul into the flesh and blood. Therefore, as long as the blood-sucking worm mother takes back the original essence blood that has been polluted by the soul of the blood-crying ancestor, it will bear this pollution firmly and be forced to merge with the soul. The existence form of this newly born soul is exactly the same as the existence form of King Yuanzi after he merged with the soul of the Changyuan clan cultivator. Although strictly speaking, the blood-crying ancestor is dead at this time. But everyone has different views on things. Maybe the blood-crying ancestor thinks that he is not dead, otherwise he would not have planned this matter so hard. None of these old demons are easy to deal with. Just when Luo Hong was secretly shocked, some bad changes occurred on Xiangzila's side. At this time, Xiang Liuge's face was a 10, and he gritted his teeth and showed an extremely aggrieved look. Luo Hong noticed his sudden disorder of manner, so he turned his head and saw that the 9 bronze tripods on the ground were shaking unsteadily, and the silver liquid splashed, and many of them were thrown out. The splashing silver liquid was wiped out of its law power by an invisible force before it flew a foot. When it landed, it had already become a mortal without spiritual energy. Affected by this, the calamity clouds in the sky were also shrinking rapidly. Xiangzili tried to stabilize the 9 cauldrons, but it was useless. He could only watch the calamity clouds gradually disappear. Hehe, human cultivators, you really have no new ideas. You use this thing to deal with me again. Unfortunately, I might have been afraid before, but now I'm also its person. The blood-sucking worm mother raised her tail and pointed to the sky. Humph, you are also a person? Xiangzili said coldly while making his last effort. That's right. I'm neither blood-cry nor the worm mother, and I really can't be called a person. Well, I should have a new name. What do you think of calling me the blood spirit holy mother? Listening to the shrill laughter beside his ear, Luo Hong felt that the newborn soul in the blood-sucking worm mother was a little abnormal. However, considering that the blood-cry ancestor and the blood-sucking worm mother were not normal beings, its abnormality was easy to accept. From the current situation and the conversation, Luo Hong realized that the old monster had undergone some changes after the fusion of the spirit, so that Xiangzila's magical power was becoming ineffective and would soon face a backlash. Silver Fairy, what is going on? What's wrong with the set of treasures protecting the world? Luo Hong, who was confused for a moment, decided to ask the Silver Fairy, who obviously knew more about the treasures protecting the world. This is not simple. The aura of the other world is not static. Although the most efficient way to eliminate it is to swallow pills, it can also be diluted by spending a lot of time. This old monster has been sealed in the human world for so many years, and the aura of the other world on his body has long been undetectable. If it weren't for the old man offering the treasure of the world to guide him, this old monster would not have caused the thunder tribulation, as long as he was not stupid enough to fight against the way of heaven. Now that the old monster's soul has merged with the cultivator of the human world, the last trace of the aura of the other world is gone. In other words, this monster who calls herself the Holy Mother of Blood Spirit is a creature from the human world. Do you think the treasure of the world, that is specially used to deal with creatures from other worlds, will still be useful at this time? Fairy Silver said with some disdain. I see, Luo understands. What Fairy Silver said was not something difficult to understand. Luo Hong suddenly understood halfway through and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Old Ghost Xiang is really unlucky this time. Originally, he was the one who called the police to catch a thief, but when the police came, the thief turned into an honest citizen. Not only did he lose the merit of catching the thief, but he was also punished for making a false report. He was wronged and had no place to complain. As he was talking, the robbery cloud had shrunk to less than 10 feet, and it would disappear completely in the next moment. But at this moment, a green thunder dragon jumped out of it and struck directly at Zili. Chapter 579. Thank you. Seeing the attacking green lightning dragon, Xiangzila's mouth twitched twice, but he did not dodge and took the blow head on, as if he was being hit. As a result, Xiang Liuge was electrocuted, and black smoke came out of his body. His hair and beard stood up, and he looked very embarrassed and funny. Then, his body was shining with spiritual light, and soon the remaining breath of the green lightning dragon was wiped out completely, and his clothes and hair and beard were neat and tidy again. However, From the bloodstains spilling from the corners of his mouth, it can be seen that taking on this blow is far from being as easy as it looks. The robbery cloud dissipated, Zhang was injured, and the happiest person at this time was undoubtedly the newly born blood spirit mother. Just now, she was afraid of the robbery cloud and had not made a move, but now she showed her fangs. With a bang, a thick blood mist exploded from the huge insect body, and then it rolled up and retracted in place with a whistle, revealing a strange figure. This person looked very strange. He looked like a handsome man, but he was wearing heavy makeup, which made him look quite seductive. The confusion brought by this made Luo Hong uncomfortable. You two's intervention has caused this saint mother to lose a lot of cultivation. Why don't you use your blood to repay me? As soon as the voice fell, the blood spirit saint mother spread her arms, and a huge blood red vortex suddenly appeared in front of her. The next moment, a huge hairy arm stretched out from it, grabbed the edge of the vortex and pulled it, and suddenly a 10-foot long crystal clear ape head stretched out. Its eyes full of cruelty and bloodthirstiness swept, and stared at Luo Hong. What bad luck, this is troublesome. After being glared at like this, Luo Hong suddenly felt his hair stand on end, and subconsciously wanted to slip away. But when he thought of the black wind absolute breath formation blocking his way, he gave up the idea. There is no doubt that the blood spirit saint mother did not intend to be moral at all, and she immediately used her strongest means. Compared to the terrifying ape head summoned by the blood-sucking worm mother before, the blood spirit mother summoned a true spirit dharma image at this moment. With the help of the earth fire green lotus, the black crow true flame barely condensed a trace of the power of the law. And this 100-foot tall blood ape dharma image, the power of the law contained in it is at least 10 times that of the black crow true flame. Not to mention that it can also display the innate magical power of the dharma image. After a little calculation using the power formula, Luo Hong knew that this was definitely not an existence that he could fight against. At this moment, only by offering the Tangshan Ling Bao to the old ghost and attacking with all his strength can it be possible to suppress it. This means that the old ghost will lose a lot of life. Fortunately, at this critical moment, the old ghost did not fall behind. After he offered a seemingly ordinary bronze longsword with a solemn look, he undisguisedly released the manner of his divine transformation cultivator, as if he was going to have a big fight. Brother Luo, that blood ape has already set its sights on you. It's useless for you to run away. For the sake of your own life, Brother Luo, you'd better not be stingy with the power of the ancient talisman. Zhang's calm voice reached Luo Hong's ears, concise and to the point, without too much persuasion. This holy mother has never seen such an ancient talisman that can merge with the spirit beast. If you, the human surnamed Luo, hand over that ancient talisman, this holy mother can let you die happily. Otherwise you will have to endure the pain of refining your soul for 10,000 years. The holy mother of blood spirit said arrogantly, as if she was not afraid of Luo Hong becoming an enemy after merging with his soul. These words naturally could not disturb Luo Hong's judgment. He knew very well how he defeated the terrifying ape head before. In fact, it is better to say that he killed the parasitic bloodworm rather than defeating the terrifying ape head. He was able to achieve such a record by using indirect methods to avoid a head-on collision. The blood ape Dharmadhatu was now formed purely by demonic power, and the formless golden light had no power over it. Unless Luo Hong could use the 5-colored divine light, he would not be able to resist it. Just as Luo Hong's thoughts turned rapidly, and he was thinking about how to break the situation, the blood ape Dharmadhatu had already extended its entire upper body, and the bronze sword that Zhang had sacrificed had also grown to more than 30 feet in length, and it had not yet reached its limit. In this race against time, the blood ape Dharmadhatu suddenly stopped squeezing out and actually opened its mouth to condense a huge blood-colored light ball. Feeling the huge demonic power in the blood-colored light ball, Luo Hong's pupils shrank, and he quickly retreated while using all his self-defense methods. As a result, the next moment, the blood ape Dharmadhatu suddenly showed a sarcastic look in his eyes, raised his head, and actually shot the blood-colored light ball into the empty sky. With a loud explosion, the blood covered the entire sky, and then it was like a curtain that was pulled open to the surroundings. In the blink of an eye, a blood-colored cover was formed, trapping the two people and the demon. The blood spirit mother would definitely not do meaningless things. After seeing the situation clearly, Luo Hong quickly sensed the changes in the surroundings and keenly realized that the secrets of this place were blocked by this layer of blood cover. After being stunned for a moment, Luo Hong suddenly showed ecstasy. Good guy, this is really a big help. On the other side, the blood spirit mother didn't care about Luo Hong, who was withdrawing. Anyway, as long as she destroyed the powerful enemy in front of her, a small nascent soul cultivator could be destroyed with a flip of her hand. However, just as she was raising her demon power and accelerating the formation of the true spirit Dharma, she saw that the Luo surnamed human race, who had originally retreated in panic, actually came back with a smile on his face. This made the blood spirit mother's heart skip a beat, and she carefully considered whether she had made any omissions or the other party was crazy. HMPH, human race. Even if you have other more powerful means to induce the calamity, it is useless. This holy mother has isolated the secrets of heaven, and the breath of the world destroying blood ape will not leak out even a little bit. Why is the holy mother so afraid of the thunder calamity? The worm mother has survived the thunder calamity many times before. You have all its memories, how can you not know? Luo Hong, who showed no fear, stopped his escape light and asked with a sneer, while floating in the air, while taking out a piece of jade with a hazy surface. After seeing Luo Hong take out the jade, the uneasiness in the heart of the blood spirit holy mother became more and more intense, and a strong sense of badness came from her spiritual sense. Could that jade be some powerful consumable treasure? The blood spirit holy mother did not guess too much, and immediately moved her mind, driving the blood ape, which had not yet fully formed, to stretch out an arm and grab Luo Hong's head. So what if this holy mother is afraid of thunder tribulation? You can't break this blood prison that covers the sky. So, Luo Hong wants to thank you very much. As he spoke, Luo Hong activated the Xianji jade in his hand, and a layer of hazy spiritual light quickly spread out with him as the center. At the same time, a dazzling purple light lit up from the center, and there was a faint dull thunder. Xiang Zili, who was originally concentrating on transmitting mana to the bronze giant sword, suddenly widened his eyes at this moment, because he sensed a very threatening aura in the direction of Luo Hong. Could it be that? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 580 Xio defeats the enemy. Almost at the moment, when the hazy spiritual light inspired by the heavenly secret jade swept over the holy mother of blood spirit, a purple lightning dragon shot out from the center of Luo Hong's eyebrows. The purple lightning dragon came so fast that the holy mother of blood spirit had just reflected the purple light in her eyes, and the exploding thunder had already arrived in front of her. She only had time to scream, and she used the power of the blood ape Dharma image to protect herself regardless of anything. The heavy blood light covered her body, as if she was instantly covered with several layers of armor. However, when the purple lightning dragon touched it, a force of law rippled out, and the law in the blood light was immediately squeezed out. Correspondingly, the blood light of the holy mother of blood spirit's body was shattered layer by layer, and it hardly played a role in obstruction. The purple lightning dragon struck her body. No. Suddenly, a shrill scream came from the thunderball formed by the purple sky divine thunder. The blood spirit holy mother is indeed a great demon who has transformed into a god. The purple sky divine thunder that Luo Hong used in the early stage of the nascent soul could easily kill the demon cultivators in the late stage of the nascent soul. Now that his cultivation has been raised to the late stage of the nascent soul, the power of the purple sky divine thunder has also increased several times, but it still cannot kill him with one blow. The blood spirit holy mother, who was struggling desperately, turned into her original form again. Her huge insect body was now burnt, and every time she moved, a large piece of ash would fall off. As a result, the blood spirit holy mother's 100-foot true body wrapped in the divine thunder began to shrink rapidly. In her current state, she naturally could not drive the true spirit. The huge ape hand that reached out to Luo Hong collapsed into a thick demonic power when it was dozens of feet away from him and was diluted by this world. However, even if there was no external attack, Luo Hong was not feeling well at this time. As his cultivation level increased, the power of the purple sky divine thunder also increased, but the backlash it brought was also heavier. This time, not only did his Wangxiang divine eye burst into blood, but also 4 purple cracks spread out from the center of his eyebrows. Although each one was only an inch long, it was on the head and the center of his eyebrows after all, so it looked extremely scary. Damn, I used too much force. Luo Hong endured the severe pain of his head almost splitting open, and cursed inwardly with regret. But at the same time, he was somewhat fortunate that he did not attract the heavenly evil this time, because he had obscured the secrets of the place. Otherwise, if he had to use his physical body to suppress the heavenly evil, he would not be able to freely perform the 5-element Great Escape, which would put him in danger. After using his magic power to relieve it, Luo Hong looked up at the Blood Spirit Holy Mother, only to see that her original 100-foot true body no longer existed. At present, she was just a flesh worm less than 10 feet long, looking weak with air coming out, but no air coming in. However, as long as a trace of purple electric light bounced off her flesh, she would show considerable vitality. This old monster is asking for it. Seeing that the other party was much worse than himself, Luo Hong felt much better. In fact, after he learned that the Blood Spirit Mother was already a living being in the human world, he had thought of using the purple sky divine thunder to attack her. But although he had the heavenly secret jade in his hand at that time, the power of the heavenly secret jade was also limited. When the heavenly Dao just visited this place, he did not dare to use the purple sky divine thunder, otherwise, it would be a crime against the wind. But he never expected that the Blood Spirit Mother also knew that the threat of thunder tribulation would increase greatly in the future, and actually use the magical power that could conceal the heavenly secret out of caution. Isn't this sending himself to Luo Hong's gun? Of course, Luo Hong would not miss this opportunity, so he used all his strength to shoot a purple sky divine thunder. Brother Luo, are you seriously injured? Xiang Zili had put away the bronze giant sword at some point and asked from 100 feet away. Seeing his attitude, Luo Hong felt relieved immediately. He bowed his hands and said, "You have been hiding this from me for a long time. Since you are a divine transformation cultivator, why do you have to hide your cultivation level to this extent and cause so much trouble?" Haha, brother Luo, you are being too polite. You and I are brothers after all. Why do you call me senior so distantly? As for why I didn't take action earlier, I have my own difficulties, but it is indeed my fault. As he said this, Xiang Zili bowed his hands to Luo Hong seriously, as if to apologize to him. Well, forget it. Fortunately, no disaster has occurred. Luo's injuries are not serious. It's just a matter of resting for a few years. Brother Xiang, don't worry about it. Xiang Zili's bowing and apology is the greatest affirmation of Luo Hong's strength. He has no intention of being his enemy. At this moment, of course, he chooses to forgive him. It would be great if junior brother Luo could understand Xiang. However, there is one thing that I would like to ask junior brother to forgive me for being so nosy. Junior brother, it is better to use less of the magical power of driving the heavenly tribulation thunder, and it is even more important not to use it continuously in a short period of time. Although junior brother has a piece of Shyanji jade in his hand, every time you use the heavenly tribulation thunder, a trace of the law aura will remain on you. If it accumulates over time, junior brother will be caught by the heavenly Dao sooner or later. Xiang Zili is also a creature in the human world. After seeing the fate of the Blood Spirit Mother, he couldn't help but feel cold in his back. His warning was more for his own peace of mind. This time when I go back, I must collect 1 or 2 means to counter it, otherwise if I'm struck by thunder one day, I'm afraid that I will lose 1,000 years of cultivation. When Xiang Zili was secretly complaining, Luo Hong was also nodding silently. He also felt this situation, so he heard it in his heart. I'm a wanted criminal who has taken the Shiangxin fruit. I must not let the heavenly Dao catch me. Well, thank you for reminding me, senior brother Xiang. I have made a note of it. The aura of the purple sky divine thunder has dissipated. Let's deal with this monster first. Luo Hong took out a piece of brocade handkerchief, covered his forehead, and looked at the blood spirit holy mother who had been trapped by Xiangzila's magic weapon. Okay, according to the agreement, Xiang only wants some things that this monster knows, and the rest belongs to junior brother Luo. After all, junior brother Luo has made the greatest contribution this time. Xiangzili smiled and nodded. Haha, then I will be disrespectful to refuse it. After this fight, Luo Hong also knew that this ancient monster should not have a demon pill, but her original essence blood is a rare treasure. If it can be refined into the eye of blood raw, it will definitely increase its power, and there will even be a chance to devour the blood of the true spirit in it. Xiangzila's interrogation method was nothing new, but perhaps because of the integration of the blood-crying ancestors Yuanshan, it was very useful. He quickly got a place name. Seeing his excitement, Luo Hong almost didn't have the heart to tell him that he would be able to get a bunch of such place names from Han Lao Mo in a few years. After being struck by the purple sky divine thunder and interrogated by the divine transformation monk, the new Yuanshan of the blood spirit holy mother was already tattered and of little use. But Luo Hong still collected it. After all, it was good to use it to feed the outer demon. Chapter 581, Cave Clues. The body of the blood spirit mother was already broken and shattered by the power of the law in the purple sky divine thunder, and even the small space in her body collapsed. Fortunately, 3 drops of the most precious origin blood essence were left. After Luo Hong put it into the jade bottle and sealed it, he looked at a storage ring. With a press of his spiritual sense, he easily wiped out the remaining spiritual sense of the blood-crying ancestor, and the items in it immediately fell into Luo Hong's eyes. The space in this storage ring is not large, even less than an ordinary storage bag, and there are not many things in it. They are all some high-level magic weapons and elixirs, and there are no sundries such as spiritual stones. I think these things are carefully selected by the blood-crying ancestor for this time, to change his fate against the will of heaven. With Luo Hong's current cultivation, even the collection of the mid-stage nascent soul demon cultivator is not worthy of his attention. Compared with finished magic weapons and elixirs, he prefers unrefined spiritual materials and spiritual medicines. After shaking his head in his heart, Luo Hong suddenly sensed a familiar breath on a jade slip leaning against the wall of space. After taking a closer look, he immediately showed a look of surprise, thinking to himself, "Ask the Heaven jade slip. I didn't expect to see it here." The matter of the Ask the Heaven cave mansion was of great importance. At this time, Xiangzili was still beside him, so Luo Hong had to suppress his excitement, and did not take out the jade slip immediately. "Brother Luo, although the essence of this monster is good, you have not practiced the blood path technique, so it is not advisable to refine it too much, otherwise your body may fall into the danger of monster path. In addition, your injuries require a long time of rest, but you have just arrived in Dajin, and I don't think there is a suitable place to live. If you don't mind, Brother Luo can go to Danki Mountain to stay temporarily. Xiang has a little friendship with the owner of this mountain, and he will definitely give you convenience." After learning the location where the blood-sucking worm mother sneaked into the human world, Xiangzili instantly forgot the lifespan he had lost. At this moment, he was in a good mood, and threw out a jade rabbit token about an inch long. "Thank you for your arrangement, senior brother Xiang. I will consider it. The crisis has passed." Xiangzili is eager to explore the space node, and Luo Hong also wants to investigate the clues of Wentian Cave Mansion as soon as possible. So, the two of them just exchanged a few polite words and bowed to say goodbye. Xiangzili seemed to have the means to break into the Black Wind Absolute Breath formation, and he went straight to the edge of the formation. Luo Hong was not so anxious. There were still 3 days before the formation was opened, so he just waited. So, after identifying the direction, he fled in the direction of Gong Pi Wu and others. On the outskirts of the Wuhan mountain range, on an unnamed stone mountain, the key refining cultivators of the Gong and Ning families were already frightened by the amazing celestial phenomenon in the center of the mountain range. Whether it was the blood cloud that flattened several giant peaks in the center, or the sudden appearance of endless green waves and burning black flames, they were all magical powers that they dared not imagine in their dreams. This scene of the battle between the immortals on land caused a great shock to these key refining cultivators, who had just embarked on the road of cultivating immortals. However, whether one is daunted or yearning for it depends on the individual. At this time, Gong Zuho's pride as a young lady from a big family had been completely crushed. She sat cross-legged on the ground, holding a small and cute purple scorpion in her hand. When the roars and roars continued to come from the depths of the mountains, she relied on the sense of security brought by the purple scorpion to avoid being distracted by the fierce will in the sound waves. After finally calming down for a while, Gong Zuho had not had time to breathe a sigh of relief when she saw the small purple scorpion suddenly flap its wings and fly away from her palm. Ah, where are you going? Gong Zuho suddenly felt a strong sense of panic. Without thinking, she chased the small purple scorpion and ran out of the protection range of the formation. Her action was really abrupt. When Gong Pi-Wu and others reacted, she had already disappeared at the edge of the mountain. No, stop her. Gong Yanwen jumped up from the ground and quickly chased to the edge of the mountain. He looked down and saw Gong Zuho standing there in a daze for some reason. So, Gong Yanwen looked in the direction she was facing and immediately saw a figure with a brocade ribbon around his forehead and blood on his robe. This person was none other than Luo Hong, who was still thinking of the Green Bamboos Trust. After putting away the flying purple striped scorpion, Luo Hong leaped to the top of the stone mountain and caught Gong Zuho with him. Brother Luo, are you injured? Is it serious? Gong Yanwen glanced at the brocade ribbon on Luo Hong's head and asked with concern. It's okay, just some flesh wounds. It will heal after a few days of rest. When Luo Hong responded, Gong Pi-Wu also rushed over, with awe in his eyes, and asked carefully, Brother Luo, do you know what happened in the depths of Wuhan mountain range? Why did such an amazing celestial phenomenon happen just now? I don't know the details, but it must be the result of a fight between high-level cultivators. As long as we don't get close to them, I believe that such beings will not care about us. We can get out in 3 days, so don't cause trouble during this period. After warning everyone, Luo Hong didn't care what they thought and chose a flat ground to sit cross-legged. Gong Zuho looked at Luo Hong with some fear, but after hesitating for a while, she still gritted her teeth and stayed near him. Luo Hong's return caused some commotion, but the Gong family was suppressed by Gong Pi-Wu, and it was quickly calmed down. On the other hand, the Ning family seemed to want to ask something, but after hesitating for a while, they gave up. Just like that, surrounded by a group of key refining monks, Luo Hong took out the heaven-asking jade slip, probed his consciousness into it, and browsed the contents. As expected, the jade slip recorded the situation of the seal in the 5-element mountain range, including detailed information such as the blood-sucking worm mother, the 3-element returning one formation, and the illusion array that guarded the seal. It seems that the Blood Cry Patriarch started planning after getting this jade slip. However, Guangnan Prefecture, where the entrance to the Heaven-asking Cave is suspected to be located, is thousands of miles away from Liaozhou. I think the Blood Cry Patriarch also got this jade slip from someone else. The most likely person is a disciple of the Blood Cry sect. Well, maybe the head of the Fang family will know something. After silently deciding on the visit, Luo Hong put the jade slip into the Wanbao bag and closed his eyes to regulate his breathing. His injury was indeed not serious, and there was no trend of deterioration, but from the situation he roughly explored at the beginning, it seemed that it was not so easy to recover. Reconnecting broken limbs and growing flesh on bones are not problems for cultivators above the nascent soul stage. Therefore, Luo Hong's real injury is not the 4 cracks on his forehead, but the alien spiritual energy in these 4 cracks. If these alien spiritual energy are not erased or removed, Luo Hong's injuries will never heal. However, the problem is that, although these alien spiritual energy are only strands, they contain the threads of laws. Chapter 582, Green Bamboo becomes a disciple. With Luo Hong's cultivation, the law thread should be something that he cannot touch. After all, the cultivators in the late nascent soul stage are not the top of the human world. Although the human world was once rich, there were many treasures and spiritual medicines containing the law thread. However, most of them were collected and occupied by the divine transformation cultivators, and the rest were in those dangerous places and could not be easily obtained. Xiang Zili is a typical example. This guy has so many magic weapons that it is amazing. but there are definitely not many of them that he made himself. And people like Luo Hong, who have refined the law thread into their own magical powers, are even more difficult for divine transformation cultivators to achieve. The only thing that can effectively resist the law thread is the law thread. If the injury was in other parts, Luo Hong would not have to worry at all. He could directly drive the Black Crow True Flame to burn it over and remove it in a short time. But he happened to be injured on his forehead. If he used this rough healing method again, his head would be in danger under the impact of the two forces. The only safe way at this time is to use magic power to grind it away bit by bit. The process is like using a stone to grind an iron block. It will take at least several years. This is too long. After all, if this injury cannot be healed, he will not be able to recover the myriad eyes. A great magical power has been cut off out of thin air. Fortunately, this injury has no other effects except for the dull pain. Luo Hong can slowly think of a solution. Lost in thought, Luo Hong did not notice the passage of time at all. In a blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. The change in spiritual energy when the Black Wind Absolute Breath formation was activated woke him up. For the 4 families other than the Gong family, this trip to the Wuhan Mountains was a heavy loss of casualties. The Ma family and the Fang family were completely wiped out, and only Song Junlin was left in the Song family. In comparison, although the Ning family also lost more than half of their men, they seemed to be able to accept it. Only the Gong family almost escaped unscathed this time. When everyone came out of the gap in the wind wall, the 5 families outside were shocked by the result, and then they quickly had their own thoughts, some of which were malicious. Luo Hong didn't care about the future turmoil in Liaozhou. As soon as he came out of the Black Wind Absolute Breath formation, he felt his body lighten, and the feeling of being suppressed by his consciousness disappeared, and he couldn't help feeling happy. After his consciousness was released, Luo Hong first stared at the patriarch of the Fang family. After not seeing his own cultivators come out for a long time, and there was no expected change, his face suddenly became extremely ugly. As if he was greatly frightened, the head of the Fang family did not arrange for several clansmen to accompany him, and went to the Fang family's land in Chelongtan. It seems that this person has realized the failure of the blood-crying ancestor, so you can go there. Be gentle, don't let everyone die before asking questions. In the crowd, Luo Hong calmly sent a voice message to his incarnation. Got it. Just use them to try out my modified magic skills. As soon as the voice fell, a black shadow came out from Luo Hong's waist without anyone noticing, and flew away quickly along the shadow. Although the result of this 5-element trial was beyond the expectations of the 5 families, the Gong family was undoubtedly the biggest winner. In order to avoid becoming the target of public criticism, the head of the Gong family immediately decided to take everyone back to Xiangang Mountain. The return was more urgent than the departure, so it was naturally much faster. After 3 days and nights, the group returned to Xiangang Mountain. Lu Zhu has been living in Luo Hong's small building these days. When she saw Gong Zuhe return safely, she was happy and sad. There is no need to elaborate on the joy, but the sadness is that she knows that she and the young lady will not be together for a long time. However, when she heard Gong Zuhe's personal account of the experience of this trip, she no longer had any regrets. The blood demon eats people, the Song family betrays, and the gods fight. If Senior Luo hadn't helped in secret, the young lady would not have been able to survive, even if she had 10 lives. Senior Luo didn't lie to me, so I should keep my promise. After noticing the changes in Lu Zhu's heart, Luo Hong smiled slightly, then sent away Gong Zuhe, who was no longer useful, and sat down in front of Lu Zhu and said, "Why are you still standing there? Pay your respects." Lu Zhu showed no sadness or joy, and knelt down with her knees bent, kowtowed to Luo Hong and said, "Master, please accept my disciples' greetings." "Well, very good, you take these things. From now on, you don't need to practice the little water elemental skill. This jade slip contains the skills that your master has specially created for you. Take it and practice it well." Lu Zhu's body was not obvious, and Luo Hong didn't know what specific magical powers she had. However, through the innate meridians in her body, he didn't spend much effort to create the most suitable immortal cultivation skills for her. In this world, the only one who can enjoy such treatment in the key refining stage is probably Luo Zhu. However, Luo Zhu herself didn't know how great an opportunity she had. Instead, she smiled with dimples while holding the jade bottle containing the yellow dragon pill. Thank you, Master, for your generous gift. Luo Zhu will definitely work hard in the future. Why do you need to do it in the future? Now you can practice according to the method given by the master, so that the master can point out your mistakes and omissions. Luo Hong was still waiting for Luo Zhu to work for him after she succeeded in her practice, so he urged her. Luo Zhu was stunned for a moment, and then a look of embarrassment appeared on her face. How could it be so simple to practice a new method? Before that, she had practiced the Xiaoshu Yuan Gong for a long time. The nameless method given by Luo Hong seemed to be more profound. Wouldn't she have to comprehend it for 10 days or half a month before she could start practicing? But Luo Zhu also knew that the master's order could not be disobeyed, so she immediately encouraged herself and sat cross-legged on a cushion in the room. After reading the nameless technique, she gritted her teeth and tried to practice it. As a result, after a while, Luo Zhu let out a surprised cry and looked at Luo Hong with joy in her eyes. Keep practicing. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Your master is here. Luo Hong encouraged. Yes, master. Luo Zhu nodded slightly and started practicing again, with an unprecedented sense of smoothness lingering in her heart. When practicing this nameless technique, she did not feel any sluggishness, as when she practiced the small water element technique. Although the route of practicing the technique was a little more complicated, every time her magic power went astray, there would always be a gentle external force to help her correct it to the correct route. In the end, Luo Zhu found that the time she needed to practice this nameless technique for a big cycle was much less than when she practiced the small water element technique before. After all, she was born in a practicing family, and she could understand the benefits. Suddenly, Luo Zhu felt the value of the nameless technique and Luo Hong's attention to her. After 8 great cycles, Luo Zhu couldn't help but guess at the level of Luo Hong, who was able to create such a technique. Master is so powerful, he must not just be a cultivator in the early stage of Jinden. Could he be in the late stage of Jinden? Luo Zhu wanted to ask, but facing Luo Hong's urging eyes, she was embarrassed to stop practicing. Chapter 583 The Path of Demon. After checking the progress of Luo Zhu's cultivation, Luo Hong nodded with satisfaction. According to the cultivation method he created, Luo Zhu would be able to show her magical powers when she reached the late stage of foundation building. At this time, the core members of the Gong family gathered at the top of the mountain, discussing the future situation of Liao Zhao with a worried look on their faces. Although the Fang family lost this battle, and the young generation of elite members were annihilated, this was at best a flesh and blood pain that could not shake their bones. As the biggest winner of this battle, the Gong family is bound to usher in the most violent revenge of the Fang family. The Fang family leader in the Jinden stage must be using a fierce look to secretly choose the place to attack. The allies of the Gong family suffered heavy losses this time, and the Song family even stood on the side of the Fang family, and there is a high probability that they will sit and watch the Fang family weaken the Gong family. It can be said that, although the Gong family won a victory, it is destined to lose more in the days to come. For this reason, the foundation building cultivators of the Gong family were almost worried to death. Some even proposed to hand over Luo Hong to appease the anger of the Fang family and reduce the losses of the Gong family. After all, it was Luo Hong who killed Fang Bichen and others. But they didn't know that, just as they were trying to appease the anger of the Fang family, Luo Hong's incarnation had already found the head of the Fang family, and also a giant and elder of the Blood Christ sect. The incarnation very kindly invited them to participate in his magic experiment, and in the end, with the greatest mercy, granted them a painless death. In the small building, Luo Zhu, who was completely immersed in cultivation, did not notice that a strange black shadow appeared in the house. The black shadow swam up to the chair opposite Luo Hong without hesitation, and then quickly swelled up and turned into a human form. Thank you for your hard work. Tell me what you have found. Luo Hong flicked his finger slightly, and the teacup on the table moved horizontally in front of the incarnation. Why bother talking? Isn't it more inconvenient for you to come and see it yourself? The incarnation grabbed the teacup and drank it all, not caring about Luo Hong checking his memory. Since the incarnation said so, Luo Hong would not be polite. He closed his eyes and activated the original soul talisman, entering his memory in person. After a moment, Luo Hong opened his eyes and said to himself with a smile, "What a coincidence. It seems that I have to go to this tanky mountain." The origin of the heaven-asking jade slip and the storage ring of the blood-crying ancestor was not beyond Luo Hong's expectation. It was presented by the giant and elder of his sect, and this giant and elder was none other than the one who came to Liaozhou with him. According to this person's account, the heaven-asking jade slip was not obtained by chance, but was found in a pile of goods after a robbery of the Hangru Academy's convoy. Therefore, if Luo Hong wanted to trace the source of the heaven-asking jade slip, he had to ask the victim of Hangru Academy. Originally, this matter was a bit troublesome, but the gate of Hangru Academy is in Danqi Mountain, which is the healing place recommended by Xiangzili to Luo Hong. In this way, the investigation may be carried out smoothly without the use of force. After learning this information, Luo Hong no longer had any attachment to Liaozhou and was ready to take Lu Zhu to Danqi Mountain after she finished this round of training. During this period, Luo Hong did not intend to be idle, and his eyes fell on the incarnation and said, "Your magic deduction seems not smooth enough. What do you think is wrong?" Hearing this, the incarnation was stunned. Obviously he did not expect that the original body would suddenly care about his affairs. The human world is not the demon world after all. The magic skills that have been circulated have been modified. Although I have a real demon body for reference, it is still quite difficult to restore them. Moreover, the magic skills and magical powers are all extremely powerful. I'm now mainly struggling with which path to take. The shaking wave magic skill of this body is very incomplete, but the black light blade it displayed that day was really sharp. If it weren't for the main body's insight into the mystery and spear against spear, I think the main body would have won with more difficulty. Secondly, if the Qingyang magic flame in the Great Sun green magic skill can be fully developed, its power may be able to compete with the Black Crow true flame that has not obtained the thread of law. The burning power of this magic flame is a great temptation to me. In addition, there is the heavenly Luo magic art obtained from the storage bag of the head of the Yin Luo sect, and its magical power to communicate with the demon world is also quite useful. Especially today, I will ascend to the spirit world with you, the main body, so this magical power is particularly important. Main body, since you asked, why don't you help me with some advice on how to go on my path of magic? The avatar said a lot in one breath, and Luo Hong listened quietly, as if he didn't understand his difficulties at all. When he asked, Luo Hong asked back, don't you have the memories of my research on spirit particles and demon particles? Being asked this question, the avatar was stunned and couldn't figure out the logical relationship for a while. Luo Hong's meaning was very clear. After knowing the characteristics of spirit particles and demon particles, the avatar should not have the doubts he has now. Seeing that the incarnation was still unable to understand the deep meaning of his words, Luo Hong took a sip of tea and began to instruct. We now know that the demon particle is derived from the decay of the spirit particle, and its physical properties have become much more lively than the spirit particle, showing greater destructive power. Relatively speaking, the spirit particle is very stable. This can also explain why normal cultivators can laugh at the world with the improvement of their cultivation, because the stability of the spirit particle affects the cultivators, making it less likely to have emotional fluctuations. On the contrary, the demon cultivators will have a changeable temperament and mood swings due to the liveliness of the demon particle. And we all know that the cornerstone of the mortal world is the spirit particle and the demon particle, and everything is composed of them. They are both the beginning and the end of power. To reach the top, whether it is immortal or demon, they must use their characteristics to the limit. The quality road I took was an immature idea when I was young. To be honest, in the past years, I also questioned it. After all, this road is too difficult, too dangerous. But when I understood the stability of the spirit particle, I knew that what I had been insisting on was the true supreme road. As for you, the only thing to do now is to ignore those fancy magical powers, concentrate on studying how to maximize the liveliness of the demon child, and create magic skills on this basis. As Luo Hong spoke, the incarnation's eyes became brighter and brighter, as if he had heard the truth that had been suppressed in his heart, but could not be dug out. A supreme magic path gradually became clear in front of him. When Luo Hong's voice fell, he immediately laughed and said, "I understand. Original body, I understand." After that, he turned into a black escape light and drilled into the spirit beast bag on Luo Hong's waist. It was unknown what he realized specifically. However, Luo Hong believed that when he came out next time, he would be able to give him a surprise. After all, this guy's my incarnation. Chapter 584, Peaceful Daily Life. Nan County is a prefecture at the junction of the northern and central parts of the Jin dynasty. In terms of area, this county is only the last in the Jin dynasty, and it is 5 times smaller than Liaozhou. But in terms of wealth, it can be ranked in the top 5. This is because the land of this county is mostly plains and water towns, and the products are rich. More importantly, there are many famous mountains and rivers in this county, and the spiritual energy is full. It is a rare holy place for cultivating immortals in the human world. Unlike those prefectures and counties controlled by the righteous and the devil, the wind of believing in Buddhism and Confucianism is prevalent in Nan County, and the sects of Buddhism and Confucianism are spread all over the county. Whether rich or poor, the mortals in the county are extremely respectful to Buddhism and Confucianism. Compared with the Buddhist sects that do not like to interfere in the secular world and pay attention to retreating into the empty door, the disciples of Confucianism are mostly trained in the secular world and live in the temple. After the mortal disciples are taught the basic ideas of Confucianism and some of the most basic scriptures, they will choose to go down the mountain to join the court of the Jin dynasty and serve as officials. And those Confucian monks were even more welcomed by the royal family of Dajin. As long as they were interested, they would welcome them. In Dajin, which was actually controlled by both the righteous and the evil, the royal family of Dajin wanted to accumulate strength. In addition to internal development, they could only recruit some talents from Confucianism. Therefore, one of the main reasons for the prosperity and wealth of Nan County was the material support secretly given by the royal family of Dajin. Taiping City, the capital of Taiping Prefecture, is a big city with academies everywhere. This city in Nan County is the capital city where the most dignitaries, wealthy businessmen live. There are dozens of wealthy businessmen with a net worth of tens of millions in the city, and the rest of the mortals engaged in various industries are countless. On this day, a young man walked on the most prosperous street of Taiping City with great interest. One step behind him, followed a little girl with a round face and bright eyes. Her mouth was slightly open, and she seemed to be very interested in everything around her. Except for going to the grassland with Gong Zuhua once, Lu Zhu had never left Liaozhou in her life. After riding Luo Hong's flying boat to the prosperous Nan County in one breath, she was naturally surprised by everything here. This eye-opening freshness effectively diluted the sadness caused by separation in Lu Zhu's heart. Otherwise, Luo Hong would not have stopped in Taiping City before going to Danqi Mountain. According to research, a good or bad mood can greatly affect the speed of cultivation. Luo Hong was also for Lu Zhu's physical and mental health, and was definitely not impatient to ask her to work for him. Although Taiping City is a large city dominated by mortals, there are often immortal cultivators flying around, including high-level cultivators in the Jiandan stage. This alone can show the strength of the immortal cultivation world here. Of course, this is also because there are many shops opened specifically for immortal cultivators on the street where the two are. The scale of these shops is not large, and the treasures and spiritual medicines at the Jiandan level can be the treasures of their shops. It stands to reason that Luo Hong cannot find something suitable among them. However, these shops together have a complete range of low and medium level spiritual materials that are unique to Dajin, enough to satisfy Luo Hong's collecting habit. At first, Lu Zhu was quite reserved, but after following Luo Hong in and out of those shops that looked unusually grand many times, she gradually became bolder. So, every time she found that Luo Hong was about to enter a certain shop, she would go into the shop in advance and imitate Luo Hong to ask the clerk to take out the list of spiritual materials in the shop, just like a well-behaved disciple. Luo Hong knew that this was a manifestation of Lu Zhu's lack of security, so he did not stop her. After all, her doing so did save him a lot of trouble. After a lot of shopping, Luo Hong spent a lot of spiritual stones, and it was getting late. When he was thinking about finding a fairy inn to stay, after visiting the last 2 shops, he suddenly heard Lu Zhu screaming in pain. Ouch. Who are you? How dare you offend the princess? Where did you come from, you wild girl? Don't you have eyes? Hearing these scoldings, Luo Hong frowned and turned around to see a group of people surrounding a woman at the door of the store, glaring at Lu Zhu. There were 7 or 8 people in the group, led by a girl of 16 or 17 years old, dressed in emerald green palace clothes, with a beautiful appearance and extraordinary temperament, but a trace of boredom was hidden between her eyebrows. The rest were around 20 years old, and their cultivation was not weaker than their age, and they seemed to be at the 8th or 9th level of key refining. Moreover, the storage bags on the waists of almost everyone were bulging, and 2 even had special spirit beast bags hanging on them. Obviously, the identities of this group of people were not simple, but they still smiled and flattered the girl in the lead. Sorry, I was reckless. Please forgive Lu Zhu, young lady. Born in the Gong family, Lu Zhu was young, but she was good at observing people's words and expressions. She saw at a glance that the person she bumped into had a strong background, and she hurriedly apologized. Although Luo Hong was distracted just now, it was not difficult to guess what happened here. It should be that Lu Zhu didn't pay attention when she entered the door and happened to bump into this group of people who were about to come out. It's not Lu Zhu's fault for being reckless. After all, this group of people lined up horizontally, blocking the door tightly, and it would be difficult for the little girl not to bump into them. However, Luo Hong was not an unreasonable person, and naturally he would not stand up for Lu Zhu. Because of this matter, he thought that Lu Zhu apologized, and the matter would be over, but unfortunately the other party didn't think so. The men and women surrounding the girl had been trying to please each other, but they had been suffering from no opportunities. Now that the opportunity has come to their door, of course they are not willing to let it go easily. HMPH. I'll cripple one of your arms, so you'll remember this lesson. One of the young men in brocade robes had a fierce look on his face, and without saying a word, he summoned his flying sword. Then, there was a loud boom, followed by the exclamations of the crowd. Lu Zhu opened her eyes timidly and found that she was not missing any limbs, but the young man in brocade robe who threatened to cut off her hand was missing. She followed the horrified gaze of the crowd and saw a figure embedded in the iron and wooden counter in the store. Upon closer inspection, it was the young man in brocade robe. However, he was in a miserable state at this time, and it was unknown how many bones were still intact. After being shocked, the palace-dressed girl and others looked at Luo Hong, who had a calm face. Although they did not notice how Luo Hong made the move, they were the only ones here, so there was no need to guess the answer. Oh my god. Do you know who Mr. Yi is? How dare you hurt him like this? You're dead. Let's go find shopkeeper Wang. Luo Hong was annoyed by their chattering and shouted angrily, "Stop making noise." Then an invisible force was added to the shoulders of these people, and they immediately knelt on the ground. 2 of them dared to struggle, because they had never suffered such humiliation or their self-esteem was too strong. Luo Hong's eyes flashed with cold light, and he increased his strength, pressing them down, and their bones made crackling sounds. My fellow Taoist, please give me some face, and don't argue with the young people. Chapter 585 Kneel down. Frightened by this, Laozu had already hidden behind Luo Hong and looked at an old man in green robe who was walking down the stairs with tears in his eyes. Luo Hong scanned the man with his spiritual sense and knew that he was a cultivator in the middle stage of the nascent soul and most likely the backer of this group of young men and women. He didn't give him a good face and snorted coldly, "Dao was really amazing. The younger generation you taught is willing to cut off someone's arm for a trivial matter. If it weren't for my good temper, none of these people would have survived today." After saying that, he flicked his sleeves and knocked the young men and women at the door out, and they fell to the ground like a rolling gourd. Although Luo Hong's behavior was very impolite, the old man surnamed Zaya was slightly relieved at this time. Grandpa, the girl in palace dress, who was the leader, pressed her sore buttocks and wanted to explain with a wronged look on her face. If she was really wronged, this trouble was all caused by the young man in brocade robe and others who acted on their own initiative. She didn't intend to embarrass Luo at all. No need to say more. Grandfather knows, you can leave first. The old man surnamed Zaya knew the character of the girl in palace dress, so he could guess the whole story without her explanation. He also knew that the angry Yuanying cultivator outside the door had actually been very merciful, otherwise he would not have let everyone suffer only physical pain. Even the young man in brocade robe who was the most seriously injured only needed to take a spiritual pill to recover from external injuries. This price was not worth mentioning to the people behind him. However, this happened to coincidentally, and it might not be so easy to resolve. In order to prevent the fight between the Yuanying cultivators from affecting the girl in palace dress, he could only ask her to leave as soon as possible. The girl in palace dress was also a smart person. Her face turned pale, and she hurriedly got up and went to the back door. The next moment, a burst of hurried footsteps sounded from behind the old man surnamed Zaya, and a middle-aged man in a python robe with a majestic and angry look suddenly appeared. When he saw the young man in brocade robe fainted in the iron and wooden counter, his face immediately turned pale. He flashed to the other side, bent down and stuffed a pill into his mouth. After seeing his breath gradually recover, the man in python robe suddenly raised his head, stared at Luo Hong with his eyes, and was about to burst out with anger. Why did this Taoist friend seriously injure Yi's great-grandson? As a Yuanying cultivator, don't you feel ashamed to attack a junior? Your grandson wanted to cut off Luo's disciple's arm for a small matter. He is so domineering. What if Luo teaches him a lesson? If it weren't for his young age and ignorance, how could he still be alive now? Luo Hong smiled coldly. He had just used his divine sense to explore the other floors of the store and found that there were many Yuanying cultivators gathered here, and there was even a late Yuanying cultivator among them. I just don't know if they are holding a private trade fair or plotting something. But no matter what, the cultivator named Yi in the early stage of the nascent soul in front of him obviously did not intend to let it go peacefully. After all, there were so many fellow Taoists watching him. If he swallowed his anger, he would lose face. Sure enough, after hearing Luo Hong's response, the man in the python robe looked even colder and said with gritted teeth, "So, I have to thank you for your discipline? Haha, you are welcome, fellow Taoist." Luo Hong did not give in, as if he did not know the consequences of his words, and smiled faintly. Okay, then let me experience your magical powers." As soon as the voice fell, the man in the python robe offered a golden seal with his eyes spitting fire. The old man named Zaya on the stairs shook his head slightly when he saw this, but did not persuade him. He just used his magic power to quietly protect the shop, to prevent it from collapsing later. At this moment, a calm voice came into his ears. "Boring. Kneel down for Luo." A small shout sounded, and suddenly an invisible huge force pressed on the man in the python robe. Luo Hong's magical power came too fast and too quickly. The man in the python robe was shocked and gathered his magic power to counter this huge force, but soon he found that he couldn't do it at all. With a loud bang, the man in the python robe's knee slammed hard on the ground. A forbidden rune pattern lit up on the bluestone slab on the floor of the shop, but after just 2 flashes, it was completely extinguished. Then, the bluestone slab under the man in the python robe's knees broke into pieces, and a pit slowly formed. All this happened too quickly. After a moment of stunned silence, the man in the python robe realized that he had actually knelt down. His face immediately turned red, and he roared like a beast and struggled. But no matter what secret technique he performed, or what magical power he used, he couldn't lift his knees from the ground at all, as if the other party had pressed the whole world on him. After a while, the man in the python robe finally regained some sanity. His face turned pale from red, and he obviously realized that he had offended a great supernatural power cultivator. No wonder he was so slow to realize it. Although Luo Hong did not restrain himself from hiding his cultivation at this time, his naturally overflowing divine thoughts were enough to disturb cultivators below the late Yuanying stage. This fellow Daoist Luo, Brother Yi was just confused for a moment. Please give him some face. The old man surnamed Zai was dumbfounded by the scene in front of him and bowed to Luo Hong with great fear. The commotion on the first floor was so loud that it naturally could not be hidden from the other Yuanying cultivators in the building, especially the cultivator in the late Yuanying stage. Therefore, right after the old man surnamed Zai spoke, a deep and indifferent voice sounded on the first floor. Fellow Daoist, you must have come here for the water palace. Brother Yi is the landlord there. Why don't you put away your magical powers and come up to talk to Yi and others? Fellow Daoist Luo, it was my unworthy descendants who offended your disciple. I'm willing to apologize. Please spare me. Seeing that his magic power had been consumed by more than half, and the pressure on his body had not been reduced at all, the man in the python robe couldn't help but panic in his heart. He completely threw away his face and begged for mercy from Luo Hong. This person's surname is Yi. Those men and women just called the leading girl a princess. Could this person be Yi Zishan, one of the 4 great casual cultivators of Dajin? After Luo Hong secretly guessed in his heart, he looked up at the old man, surnamed Zai, and said, "Are you Zai Tingshan, one of the 4 great casual cultivators of Dajin?" Fellow Daoist Luo, do you know Zai? Yes, Zai is the person you are talking about. The one who just transmitted the messages, the eldest brother of our 4 brothers. Zai Tingshan was slightly stunned and said with a slightly relaxed expression, "It seems that I'm right. The man upstairs is Yi Zishan." Luo Hong frowned and thought to himself and removed the power of heaven and earth from the man in the python robe. "Thank you for the invitation, Brother Yi, but I'm not here for the water palace. There is no need to go upstairs. Goodbye." After saying that, Luo Hong grabbed Lu Zhu's little shoulder, turned into a blue light, and went straight to Danqi Mountain. Chapter 586, Secret Discussion of 7 People. In the Great Jin Dynasty, the names of the 4 independent cultivators are well known, and few people don't know them. However, only cultivators above the nascent soul stage know that the fame of the 4 of them mostly comes from Yi Zishan, the leader of the 4. This person is not only a great cultivator in the late nascent soul stage, but also known as one of the 2 people who are most likely to advance to the god transformation stage in the past 1000 years of the Great Jin Dynasty. No matter how much water there is in this reputation, Yi Zishan is definitely not an ordinary late nascent soul cultivator. Luo Hong is injured now, so it is naturally impossible for him to meet such a person. After Luo Hong left, the man in the python robe stood up with a gloomy face, and with a flash of light, he returned to the secret room on the 3rd floor with Zai Tingshan. As soon as he entered the door, he heard someone say with a smile, "You are worthy of being Brother Yi. Just by revealing your name, you scared that person away. But that person is also strange. In his spiritual sense, he is actually hazy. I don't know if he has some rare treasure to protect him. Brother Yi, have you found out the real cultivation of this person?" On the first seat, a middle-aged man in grey tights and a purple mask shook his head slightly, frowned and said, "This person is quite mysterious. Even Yi can't see through him, but I think he should be a Taoist friend in the late nascent soul stage. Otherwise Brother Yi would not have suffered such a big loss. Brother Yi is really unlucky this time. He actually ran into such an existence. It seems that this person is not from the nearby states and counties, otherwise Brother Yi would not have failed to recognize him. Well, the surname is Luo. Do you know his origin?" At the first place of Yixi Xiangsha, an old man in a blue robe looked at everyone and said, "Fellow Daoist Yi, if we knew, how could we not remind Brother Yi?" Zai Tingshan sat down and shook his head. "Brother, what kind of magical power did that person use to make you unable to fight back?" A young woman wearing a phoenix crown and elegant and graceful asked with concern beside the table of the man in the python robe. She and the man in the python robe practiced the same kind of skills, and her cultivation was weaker than that of the man. When she thought that, if it were her, she would also end up being bullied, her heart was very flustered. When the young woman surnamed Yi said this, the other 5 people in the secret room immediately looked over. It was seen that in this secret room of 10 feet long and wide, there were a total of 7 nascent soul cultivators. The one with the highest cultivation was naturally Yi Zishan. Among the remaining 6 people, except for the brothers and sisters of the Yi family, they were all cultivators in the middle stage of the nascent soul. With such strength, it is completely possible to destroy a large sect. To be honest, I didn't have time to react before I was taken down by the other party. At that moment, it was as if a 1,000-foot mountain pressed down on every part of my body, and even my magic power was greatly affected. And the other party must have held back, otherwise he would never have maintained his magical power to the extent that I couldn't get up, but not to the extent that I was injured. After saying that, the man in the python robe raised his glass and drank a sip of wine and fell silent with an ugly look on his face. Don't take this to heart, Mr. Yi. You have heard that the other party is most likely a great cultivator in the late nascent soul stage. If he had offended him in the past, I'm afraid he would have lost his life long ago. Now it's already a big deal. Next to the blue-robed old man, an old monk with white eyebrows and fat ears wearing a cassock slowly spoke. Thank you, Master Luo Hong, for your advice. I didn't take it to heart, but I just need to slow down. The man in the python robe responded with a bow and raised his hand to drink another glass. Brother, this person keeps saying that he is not from the water palace. How credible do you think he is? Even if he was beside him at the time, Xiaotingshan could not see the details of Luo Hong's magical power, and it was even more impossible now. So, when everyone was thinking about this, he asked with a worried look on his face. It's hard to say. According to his cultivation level, if he really had an interest in the water palace, he shouldn't have rejected my invitation just now. Maybe he really just ran into him by chance. Yi Zishan was also confused. Luo Hong slipped away too quickly and didn't leave a few words. He had no way of guessing. HMPH, in my opinion, that person is coming for the water palace, and he has bad intentions. Think about it. Taping City is not a place with particularly abundant spiritual energy, nor does it have rare resources for cultivating immortals. It is strange enough for him, a great cultivator in the late nascent soul stage, to appear in this city. But he happened to run into us and gave us a hard blow. Everyone, I think we should prepare for the worst in advance. The blue-robed old man looked at everyone solemnly. After he said that, even the white-browed old monk's face couldn't help but look ugly, and Yi Zishan also frowned. After a long silence, Yi Zishan suddenly turned his head and looked at the Confucian woman who had not spoken a word so far, and said, Fairy Dong, what do you think about this? The person Yi Zishan specifically asked was a nascent soul female cultivator with a gentle and beautiful appearance and a scholarly and literary atmosphere. Although her cultivation level can only be ranked above the Yi brothers and sisters among the 7 people, her expression at this time is the calmest. If that person really wanted to make things difficult for us, why would he bring a young disciple of the key refining stage with him? In my humble opinion, we should just continue to act according to the plan. The woman's voice was gentle and ethereal, like a female teacher in a school who was half asleep. The old man in blue robe was stunned when he heard this. He had not thought of this level. After all, no matter what conspiracy the other party played, a little girl of the key refining stage could not threaten them. Therefore, no conspiracy was the most likely. After thinking about this, Xiaotingshan and others secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If a cultivator of the late nascent soul stage really wanted to make things difficult for them, it would be a nightmare for them. Afterwards, the 7 people continued to discuss the unfinished business in the secret room, and did not explain until the next morning. There are still 5 years before the opening of the water palace. During this period, everyone should go back and make more preparations. We will meet here in 5 years. As soon as Yi Zishan finished speaking, he and Xiaotingshan disappeared together. The other 5 people did not stay here and each dispersed. Not long after the Confucian-clad female cultivator left Taping City, a golden light followed behind her. The person who came was none other than the young woman surnamed Li who had just parted ways with her. Fairy Dong, please go. I have something to discuss with you in private. As if she knew the other party's intention, the Confucian-clad female cultivator did not show any surprise, but nodded slightly and said, this place is not far from Danqi Mountain. Let's go back to the academy to discuss it in detail. Okay, I just want to meet the young talents of this generation of Hangru Academy. The young woman surnamed Yi smiled and agreed immediately. In this way, the two flew together for 3 hours and came to a mountainous area. However, near the mountain gate, the two met someone they did not expect. For the first time, a trace of panic appeared on the face of the Confucian-clad female cultivator. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 587, Feather Pill. Standing outside the mountain gate were none other than Luo Hong and Luo Zhu. After leaving Taping City, Luo Hong went straight to Danqi Mountain and visited Hangru Academy according to the procedure. Later, he was told that the contemporary master of Hangru Academy, Mr. Li Shan, was not in the academy, and he was not a Yuanian cultivator of a friendly force, so he could only wait outside the formation. This was the rule, and Luo Hong had nothing to say, so he drank tea with Luo Zhu in a welcoming pavilion outside the mountain gate of Hangru Academy. As soon as the two women in Confucian robes entered his spiritual awareness, he noticed them and recognized them as the Yuanian cultivators who appeared in the secret room. This was somewhat beyond Luo Hong's expectations, but also within his reason. Hangru Academy was the top sect in Taping Prefecture, and it was reasonable for the cultivators of the academy to participate in the major events in the prefecture. However, compared with Luo Hong's calmness, the two women in Confucian robes, especially the young woman surnamed Yi, were in a state of turmoil. Bumping into each other twice in a short period of time was no longer a coincidence. For a moment, the two women had all kinds of thoughts, guessing Luo Hong's intention. The young woman surnamed Yi's face suddenly turned pale. She didn't know what bad guess she had in mind, and hurriedly said, "Since Fairy Dong has a distinguished guest, I won't bother you today. I will come to discuss that matter with you another day." Before she finished speaking, the young woman surnamed Yi turned her light and returned at a much faster speed than when she came. Although the woman in the Confucian robe was also frightened, the other party had come to the mountain gate, and she had no way to avoid it. She could only smile bitterly and land in the pavilion. "Fairy, are you Mr. Lisan?" Luo Hong asked, while signaling Lasu to pour tea for the other party with her eyes. "Although I don't deserve it, I'm indeed the great master of Hangru Academy. May I ask what is the purpose of your visit? If Hangru Academy has offended you, we will sincerely apologize. If you need anything from Hangru Academy, please speak up, and we will do our best." The woman in Confucian clothes bowed respectfully, as if she was the guest and Luo Hong was the host. After advancing to the late nascent soul stage, it was the first time that Luo Hong showed his cultivation in front of a sect. Now he truly realized the weight of a great late-stage cultivator. This is the power that can decide the life and death of cultivators below the late nascent soul stage, and the power it brings. Haha, Mr. Lisan misunderstood. I'm not here to cause trouble. Do you recognize this thing? After a light laugh, Luo Hong flipped his palm and took out the inch-long jade rabbit and threw it to the woman in Confucian clothes. "What is this? Daoist Luo, do you have any instructions for Senior Zhang?" The Confucian-dressed woman immediately became excited when she saw the jade rabbit. After casting an isolation barrier, she sat down opposite Luo Hong with shining eyes. "Haha, it seems that Mr. Lisan and senior brother Zhang have a close relationship. However, you are thinking too much. I'm here just to borrow the land to heal my wounds. Senior brother Zhang has no instructions for me to tell you." Luo Hong's curious eyes swept over the beautiful face of the Confucian-dressed woman, and he drank a sip of tea with a calm expression. "If it weren't for the guidance from Senior Zhang in those years, how could I have achieved my current cultivation? It's a pity that I couldn't become his disciple and couldn't serve him all day long." The Confucian-clad woman's expression dimmed, and after shaking her head, she looked at Luo Hong and continued, "Since brother Luo calls Senior Zhang senior brother, could it be that brother Zhang is also?" Luo has not taken that step yet, but Senior Zhang didn't let Luo change his name because of our friendship. Friendship is all false. If Luo Hong hadn't shown his strength, old ghost Zhang would never have been so easy to talk to. Hearing this, the Confucian-clad woman nodded slightly. Although a cultivator in the late nascent soul stage was not something she could offend, the pressure from a cultivator in the spiritualization stage was still too great. While Luo Hong was talking, the confusion-clad woman quietly looked at Luo Hong, trying to see where he was injured, so that she could prescribe the right medicine, and take the opportunity to gain Luo Hong's friendship. But after observing him, she felt that Luo Hong was full of energy, and had a ruddy complexion. He didn't look like he was injured to the point that he needed to find a place to recuperate. She couldn't help but feel puzzled. Since Brother Luo is your junior brother, I will naturally help you. But I don't know what kind of injury Brother Luo suffered. What can I and the academy do? Luo's injury is indeed quite special. Although it's not serious, it's like a maggot on the tarsal bone, and is extremely difficult to heal. I dare to ask if there are any Yuan cultivators who practice the health-preserving and Yuan increasing techniques in Hongru Academy. On the way to Taping Mansion, Luo Hong had already thought of a way to speed up the recovery of injuries. However, this method requires Luo Hong to find a Yuan cultivator who practices the health-preserving and Yuan increasing techniques, and uses special magic power to cooperate with him to dissipate the alien spiritual energy. In this way, it can reduce the healing time by about 30%. But there are very few cultivators who practice this kind of technique. Luo Hong didn't hold much hope at this time, and just asked casually, health and vitality? This kind of practice, in addition to making the lifespan of the cultivator longer than that of the same level, has neither powerful magical powers nor fast practice speed. Anyone who has enough talent to practice to the nascent soul stage will definitely not choose this kind of practice as the main practice. Brother Luo, even if you search through several surrounding states and counties, I don't think you can find a Taoist friend who meets the requirements. The Confucian-shirted woman frowned slightly, gradually showing an embarrassment. After a pause, as if she had made up her mind, she suddenly said, Brother Luo, have you heard of the Yuhua pill? Luo Hong's action of raising the glass suddenly paused, raised his head, and looked directly at the Confucian-shirted woman, with a scrutinizing look in his eyes. Of course, Luo has heard of the name of the Yuhua pill. It is said that this pill can increase the essence of the cultivator, and there is no after effect. It is an ancient elixir that can be called a panacea. Mr. Lisan, do you have any news about this pill? The so-called essence is the life essence of the cultivator. Once it is lost, the lifespan will be greatly reduced, and the talent will drop sharply. It is the most important thing for the cultivator. In Luo Hong's previous research, the essence is the energy generated by the fusion of the three elements of the immortal cultivator, and it affects the whole body. Therefore, the most direct way to increase the essence is to improve the realm of cultivation, and the second is to take some elixir such as Yang Jingdan and Piuan Dan. But these are indirect ways of increasing, and their essence is still to increase the three elements of essence, energy, and spirit. Among the direct ways of increasing, the most common is to use the magic secrets or the fox charm to forcibly seize the essence of others. Yuan Yao used it on the Saint Mulan, but the other party had already prepared a means to make up for the loss, and Yuan Yao did not suck it dry, so it did not cause serious consequences. Directly devouring the essence of others can quickly improve one's own cultivation, but it will also bring great troubles. Except for those who have no spiritual intelligence and are bloodthirsty and crazy, few people will do this. Chapter 588 A Sudden Opportunity. Even the demon cultivators who specialize in this way will be very restrained and always alert themselves. The only existence that Luo Hong knows of that can want only absorb essence and seize essence is the Sky Fox clan. Apart from this method with endless troubles, the only remaining way is to swallow the feather pill. According to ancient records, even in ancient times, this pill was only a flash in the pan. But because of the special nature of the essence and essence that affects the whole body, the feather pill can almost meet any needs of the cultivator. Whether it is to improve cultivation, break through bottlenecks, or prolong life, remove poison and heal injuries, the feather pill has a satisfactory performance. Therefore, under this magical effect, although this pill only appeared in batches once, it has left a strong and colorful mark in the history of immortal cultivation in the human world. As soon as Luo Hong said this, before the woman in the Confucian robe could reply, the voice of the silver fairy rang in his heart. A pill that directly increases the essence and has no side effects? If this fairy is right, your chance has come, brother Luo. Chance? Fairy, can you tell me in detail? Luo Hong's heart moved, and he hurriedly asked. Don't worry, let's listen to what this Confucian cultivator says first. The tone of Fairy Yin was full of eagerness to try, and Luo Hong seemed to see her rubbing her hands excitedly. In fact, I can't be sure that there must be a Yuhua pill in that place, but I can be sure that it was the cave of the ancient cultivator who refined the Yuhua pill. Brother Luo, I think you can understand what I mean. The beautiful eyes of the Confucian woman flashed twice, and she said with a hint. That cave is probably not only the Yuhua pill, but also a very powerful restriction, right? Luo Hong never thought that, if he took out the token of Xiang Laogi, the other party would be open-hearted to him. After all, it was Xiang Zili who was indebted to her, not him. Luo Hong. Mr. Lisan took the initiative to mention the Yuhua pill, which was nothing more than wanting to use her, but she didn't dare to harm him. She didn't call him senior brother for nothing. The effect of the Yuhua pill on her injuries would naturally be much stronger than that of a Yuanian cultivator who practiced health-preserving techniques. Luo Hong was undoubtedly interested. However, in comparison, the opportunity that Fairy Yin mentioned was obviously more important. If it's a cave, that would be great. Daoist Luo, please agree to her quickly. I will tell you the benefits later. Fairy Yin was even more excited and hurriedly sent a voice message to urge her. Don't worry, Fairy. Now that you know about this, the initiative has been in Luo's hands. Let's find out more about the situation first. After Luo Hong comforted Fairy Yin, she slowly raised her cup and drank tea, as if she had no urgent need for the Yuhua pill. Brother Luo, to be honest, that cave is not a good place. If we are not careful, even an nascent soul cultivator will be in danger of falling. However, we are not the only ones going there. All the large forces around Taiping Prefecture will send representatives. Brother Luo has met fellow Daoist Ji before, and he is one of them. Then, the Confucian-clad woman told Luo Hong the identities of the other 6 people who had met secretly before. Yi Zishan and Xia Tingshan, who represented the independent cultivators, were undoubtedly the strongest forces. In addition, there were Master Liuan and the old man in blue robes who represented the Pure Land sect of Buddhism, and the brothers and sisters of the Yi family who represented the imperial family of Dajin. As everyone knows, the 4 independent cultivators have an unclear relationship with the imperial family of Dajin, so although the cave treasure hunt has not yet started, everyone has been vaguely divided into 2 factions. The strength of the Buddhist Confucianism is at an absolute disadvantage because of the existence of Yi Zishan. Luo Hong only thought about it for a moment and knew why the Confucian-clad woman was so eager to pull him into the group. Although the Yuhua pill is good, I don't have the habit of taking risks with injuries. Mr. Lisan, please arrange a place for me to stay as soon as possible. Luo Hong stood up and took Lu Zhu to the mountain gate of Hangru Academy. The Confucian-clad woman didn't expect Luo Hong to be so easily tempted by the Yuhua pill. She bit her lower lip and felt quite unwilling. Of course, she didn't have the courage to force Luo Hong, so she had to take it slowly. The atmosphere of the Confucian sect is completely different from that of the general immortal sects. There are no buildings for teaching and practicing skills, only academies arranged in high and low rows. Confucian practitioners often use flying swords, and often have disciples of the academy flying swords together. Luo Hong flew high in the sky, looking at the entire towering Danqi mountain, and felt that the aura was hidden inside, as if there was a magic sword hidden in the belly of the mountain, and the aura was connected to the Confucian-clad woman next to him. I think that is one of the foundations of Hangru Academy. These sects in Dajin are really not easy to mess with. Oh, by the way, there is something that I need Mr. Lisan's help with. Excuse me, are you familiar with the Blood Cry sect? Luo Hong pretended to suddenly remember and asked casually. The Blood Cry sect is a large demon sect in Tanzhou. There are many nascent soul cultivators in the sect, and the Blood Cry patriarch has been famous for a long time. As a great master of the academy, I'm familiar with it. I wonder what Brother Luo wants. The Confucian-clad woman also adjusted her mentality at this time, and smiled lightly with a refined temperament. It's nothing, but not long ago, Luo and senior brother Xiang accidentally ran into the blood cry patriarch doing evil, so we got rid of him. When searching the soul of one of his disciples, Luo found a clue about the rare spiritual material Phoenix Bloodstone. This clue is related to your Hangru Academy. Sir, do you know that the Academy's convoy was robbed about 3 decades ago? Luo Hong concealed many details and asked with a little modification. I really can't answer this. Senior brother Ni has always been in charge of trivial matters in the Academy. I will call him over to ask. The Confucian-dressed woman proposed, after pondering for a while. Don't worry, wait until Luo settles down, and then you can bring him over. Luo Hong was not in a hurry about the jade slip of heaven. After all, the entrance to Guangnan Mansion could not be escaped. After the Confucian-dressed woman agreed, she led Luo Hong to an empty cave on the top of the mountain with a thoughtful look. This place was originally the residence of the previous generation of masters. Since he passed away, it has been idle. From now on, it will be handed over to brother Luo to deal with. Taking the forbidden token, Luo Hong sensed the spiritual energy of the heaven and earth here, and then nodded with satisfaction. Yes, it is a good spiritual cave. Luo thanked you here. Brother Luo is polite. If there is nothing else I can help with, I will go back first. After saying that, the Confucian-dressed woman bowed slightly and flew away. After entering the cave, Luo Hong casually cast a few restrictions and headed straight for the meditation room. After sitting cross-legged on the futon, he took off the jade-inlaid brocade belt wrapped around his forehead, revealing the bloody wound and 4 cracks between his eyebrows. Master, are you going to die? Lu Zhu also saw Luo Hong's wound for the first time, and his eyes suddenly turned red, obviously frightened. After all, if a normal person had a bloody hole between his eyebrows, and it looked like it was about to crack, he would definitely die soon. Chapter 589, The Origin of the True Spirit. Luo Hong was immediately touched by the filial piety. He comforted the girl, and sent her to the side room to practice. When the stone door fell, Luo's figure disappeared, and a ray of silver spiritual light flew out from Luo Hong's waist, and fell in front of him, turning into a small figure. Fellow Daoist Luo, why didn't you just agree to the Confucian cultivator? Don't you trust me? Of course not, it's just that Mr. Li Shan is very dishonest. Although the Yuhua pill is good, its most important effect of breaking through the bottleneck is only useful for those below the level of Huishan. Not to mention, there may be Yuhua pills in that cave. Therefore, Yi Zishan, who is in the late stage of yuanying, must have participated in it for other treasures. This woman only explained a scale grab, and wanted to lure me to take action. Of course, I can't let her do what she wants. Let's keep her hanging first. Even if the other party doesn't take the bait, they can't stop me when they come uninvited. In fact, if this woman hadn't been a relative of the old ghost, Luo Hong would have used means to interrogate her. Whatever these people are planning, it is impossible for it to involve the opportunity that this fairy is talking about. Otherwise Taping Mansion should have gathered all the divine transformation cultivators in Dajin. Fairy Yin said confidently, not taking the Yuhua pill and the treasure that Yi Zishan was really planning into consideration. Is it so important? Fairy, please make it clear that, if Luo can benefit from it, he will never treat you unfairly. Hearing this, Luo Hong's eyes suddenly lit up, secretly guessing that Fairy Yin was referring to an ancient spiritual treasure or a mysterious spiritual object. HMPH, this thing has a very great origin. It is impossible for this thing to appear in the human world, but the opportunity is so wonderful. Although this thing is of great use to this fairy, due to its characteristics, this fairy can only take a little of it. However, fellow Daoist Luo can devour it all, and enjoy its wonderful use. Fairy Silver looked at Luo Hong with some envy, and continued to explain, essence is the origin and foundation of the cultivator, and its connection with the cultivator is extremely close. When others devour it, this connection becomes an impurity that cannot be removed. However, there are always exceptions to everything. There is a kind of essence that is purely transformed by the law and born from heaven and earth, so there is no impurity. Judging from the efficacy of the Yuhua pill, it must be refined with this kind of essence as the main material. Transformed by the law, born from heaven and earth. What kind of creature can give birth to such essence? Luo Hong murmured and guessed, and suddenly a flash of inspiration came to his mind, and he thought of an answer. Fairy, are you talking about the origin of the true spirit? It seems that Dao Luo has recovered some of his past life memories, and he can actually guess what this fairy is talking about. In this way, I believe you can also guess the origin of this true spirit origin. Fairy Yin chuckled, and directly confirmed Luo Hong's guess. Wow, it really is the true spirit origin. I should have thought of it earlier. Since a 5-colored peacock died in the human world, there should be some true spirit origin left. Fairy, you killed the 5-colored peacock in the first place. Do you still remember how much of its true spirit origin is left? Luo Hong was shocked, and after calming down, he hurriedly asked. That colorful peacock was completely killed by the sky-breaking spear. Except for the strand of blood in the spear tip, no soul escaped. Its true spirit was also directly destroyed by 70% at that time. Without the condensation of the true spirit, the remaining 30% should have disintegrated into the vitality of heaven and earth, and returned to nature. But since someone used it to refine the feathering pill, it must have been preserved by some accident at that time. It was because of the surprise that Fairy Yin was so excited after learning about the existence of the feathering pill. Why can you be sure that the ancient cultivator did not refine all the 30% of the true spirit into pills? Luo Hong frowned and asked doubtfully. It is already the limit for a mere transformation cultivator to barely refine a trace of the true spirit origin. Without the support of the corresponding true spirit bloodline, refining too much will only do more harm than good. As for refining the elixir, that is even more impossible. The ancient cultivator can only refine the broken true spirit origin into the elixir at most, and cannot move its main body at all. Otherwise, the feathering pill would not be able to help people cross the bottleneck of the transformation. Fairy Yin not only answered Luo Hong's question, but also explained why she only took a trace. Fortunately, Fairy, you didn't directly tell me about this opportunity just now, otherwise Luo would definitely not be able to calm down. Luo Hong took a deep breath, and tried to calm down his excitement, as if he was an ignorant low-level cultivator. He didn't feel ashamed. After all, the true spirit origin he faced was a treasure that all Mahayana cultivators would fight for. After refining the complete true spirit origin, even if he couldn't evolve into the true spirit of the same origin, he would be reborn, his cultivation would be greatly improved, and it was a foregone conclusion that he would advance to the fusion. Although there were less than 30% of the true spirit essence in the cave, it was enough for Luo Hong to benefit from it, especially when he planned to devour the blood of the 5-colored peacock true spirit. As for why Fairy Yin was so concerned, Luo Hong could easily understand that repairing the Zuanshan treasure required the materials of the law, and the true spirit essence was the best choice. The Great Way was ruthless, and Luo Hong would never give up such a treasure. Since he had made up his mind, he had to be prepared. It would be fine if others did not compete with him, but if someone was knowledgeable enough, he would not blame him for killing him, even if that person was Yi Zishan. Within 5 years, it is impossible for me to recover from the injuries I suffered by myself. Under this constraint, I want to compete with Yi Zishan, but I can't be sure of it. Well, I have to find a way to increase my combat power. Dajin is a holy place for cultivating immortals in the human world, and Luo Hong dare not underestimate the existence that can make a name for himself here. My avatar, if you can refine a magic weapon for me, I might be able to help then. Just as Luo Hong was meditating, his avatar suddenly transmitted a message. Oh. From what you said, you have found the way. Luo Hong was slightly surprised by the efficiency of the avatar. After being reminded by my avatar, it is not difficult to find a path of magic that suits me. These days, I have been busy designing my own magic weapon. With my own magic weapon, plus the unique magic skills I created, I will definitely be able to exert a combat power close to that of a god-transformed magic cultivator in 5 years. By then, my avatar will not have to worry about not being able to deal with Yi Zishan. The avatar's tone was very arrogant, but Luo Hong thought it was possible. If he really created some kind of magic power, plus the specially designed avatar magic weapon amplification, it would not be surprising to have such power. The only problem is that the list of materials this guy gave Luo Hong was too shocking, as if he was going to empty his family assets. There was no way. This guy knew his family assets very well, and Luo Hong couldn't defend himself, even if he wanted to. Damn it, I have to go to the auction again. Chapter 590 Clues and Information. Since Luo Hong became the Grand Elder of the Yellow Maple Valley, he has never participated in any auctions. For the less rare resources, he directly handed them over to the giant and elders such as Luo Hong, asking them to collect them with the help of the sect's forces. For the extremely rare resources, he pushed them to the 4 major forces of Cheyenne, based on the credit of several major events in Cheyenne. And now, for the 3 extremely rare magic spiritual materials on the list, Luo Hong had to use the inefficient collection method of participating in auctions. This was when he killed many Yuanying magic cultivators and got the treasures in their storage bags. If not, he would have been unable to resist throwing it in the face of the incarnation the moment he got the list. Just 3 magic marrow crystals, for other late Yuanying cultivators, are already impossible to collect. Isn't mine yours? Why do you have to separate them so clearly? The incarnation spoke decisively, because he knew that this was a rare opportunity. Otherwise, he would not be sure that he could make Luo Hong pay such a high price. Okay, I'll try my best to help you collect them. Fortunately, this is Dajin. Compared with a true spirit origin, this price is nothing. Luo Hong only felt heartbroken for a moment and agreed. However, for the sake of caution, Luo Hong did not intend to put all his eggs in one basket. The silver gangsha that was missing for refining the Shenfeng Shadowless sword could also be collected together. If the set of flying swords could be completed, it would surely make the cultivators who saw its power for the first time suffer a heavy loss. After making the next plan, Luo Hong slowly closed his eyes and used his energy to heal his wounds. In a blink of an eye, 10 days passed. In the morning of this day, the Confucian woman brought an old man who looked haggard and had a short lifespan to the outside of the cave. Before they could send a voice message to the door, Luo Hong's voice rang out slowly. You too. Luo has been waiting for a long time. Please come in and see me. The Confucian woman and the haggard old man looked at each other and walked towards the stone door at the same time. Soon, the two sat in the meeting stone room. The Confucian dressed woman took a quick glance and found that the furnishings in the stone chamber were extremely simple, so she curved her red lips and said, Brother Luo is really a hard-working cultivator. If you can't spare the time, I can send someone to decorate it for Brother Luo. No need. It's just a temporary cave. It doesn't matter if it's a little simple. After Luo Hong responded, he moved his gaze to the withered old man next to the Confucian dressed woman and asked lightly, This must be Brother Ni of Mr. Lisan. I believe that Mr. Lisan has already told you what I want. I wonder what the result is. My name is Nizakyu, and I'm honored to meet fellow Daoist Luo. I do have some impression of the caravan that fellow Daoist asked about. After all, not many people dare to rob our Hangru Academy caravan. Most of the goods transported that time were spiritual objects collected from various resource points, and they should not be the clues to the Phoenix Bloodstone that fellow Daoist Luo is looking for. The rest are personal belongings that the caravan transported for the disciples of the academy along the way. Before coming here, I specially found the list of that year and asked fellow Daoist Luo to take a look. As he spoke, Nizakyu took out a stack of yellowed papers, which recorded the details of the items and the person who had consigned them. Luo Hong moved his mind and arranged them neatly in front of him one by one. Then he glanced and found the original owner of the jade slip. Qi Fenglai, is this person currently in the academy? Oh, this. After being asked by Luo Hong, Nizakyu hesitated and looked at the woman in Confucian clothes, as if he was in some difficulty. Why? What's the problem with this person? Luo Hong asked calmly without changing his expression. There are indeed some problems. This Qi Fenglai is not only not in the academy at present, but also imprisoned by Qingyuan Temple. Brother Luo is afraid that there is no way to ask him. The woman in Confucian clothes also looked surprised, obviously not expecting such twists and turns. What's going on? As far as I can remember, Qingyuan Temple is not a top sect. Your academy should be as powerful as it is. How could you allow someone to easily imprison your own disciples? Luo Hong couldn't help but suspect that the two were playing a trick of borrowing a knife to kill someone, and immediately looked at them with a scrutinizing eye. Brother Luo, you don't know that this is the rule of Confucianism. As long as the trouble is caused during the period of entering the world, the academy will not intervene. Qi Fenglai has an excellent talent in swordsmanship. 30 years ago, he just broke through the Jiandan stage and defeated the late Jiandan demon cultivator in a head-on fight. If it weren't for the rules, we wouldn't let such an elite disciple waste his time in Qinggyan Temple. The Confucian woman shook her head and sighed, as if she felt very sorry about this. Enter the world? Haha, I see. Luo Hong nodded slightly. Confucianism needs to enter the world to practice, borrow the imperial dynasty and the country, and cultivate the noble spirit. During this period, even if you are careful, it is easy to cause trouble. After all, the imperial family of Dajin had been secretly fighting with the righteous and evil forces of Dajin, and many Yuanying cultivators of the imperial family had died because of this. Although cultivators below the Yuanying level were not enough to become targets of the righteous and evil forces, they would inevitably be used as knives, especially the Confucian cultivators who acted in a gentlemanly manner. Qi Fenglai was framed to lose a bet and had to be bound in Qinggyan Temple for 60 years, and it has only been 10 years. Then don't worry about it. Do you know where there will be a large auction in Dajin recently? Luo Hong urgently needs to purchase some spiritual materials. As long as people are not dead, the clues will not be broken. Anyway, Qinggyan Temple will not escape. Luo Hong immediately decided to prepare the spiritual materials needed for the incarnation first. After all, it takes a lot of time to refine treasures. There are several large auctions in the near future, but I don't know what kind of spiritual materials Brother Luo needs. The Confucian woman asked with a slight smile. I should ask you first. Luo Hong needs 4 spiritual materials in total, namely, Styx water, soul-sucking steel, evil dragon blood and silver gangsha. Luo Hong looked at the two people with a little expectation. Oh, this. The woman in Confucian robes did not expect Luo Hong to name 4 top-level spiritual materials in one breath, which immediately made her plan go awry. She forced a smile and said, Brother Luo, if you want to get these 4 top-level spiritual materials, you may have to go to Jinjing specifically. In half a year, there will be a large auction there, and it will be an underground auction full of magic materials, which is exactly what Brother Luo needs. I may be able to help Brother Luo with some worries. As long as the amount of silver gang sand you need is not much, I will be able to provide it. Nizukiyu hesitated for a moment and suddenly volunteered. Oh, Brother Ni has some silver gang sand? Luo Hong raised his eyebrows and turned to the withered old man. No, I don't have any silver sand in my hand. However, the skills I practice are somewhat special, and I can extract silver sand from cloud iron ore. But the refining speed is very slow, and I can only get 1 or 2 ounces of silver sand in a year. Fortunately, only a little bit of this spiritual object can make the magic weapon extremely hard. I will work hard for 2 years, and should be able to meet your needs. Chapter 591, Preparation for Winning Over. Haha, at this speed, 2 years is far from enough. After all, I need at least 1 jin of silver gangsha. Luo Hong shook his head slightly and looked at Nizukiyu. 1 jin. This is so much. After being stunned for a moment, Nizukiyu smiled bitterly and sighed. I'm sure you can see that I don't have much time left. I'm afraid I can't last 10 years. Luo Hong knew that the other party said this not to say that he only had less than 10 years left to live, but to say that if he tried his best to refine silver gangsha for himself, his lifespan would be reduced to less than 10 years. Refining spiritual materials for a long time is very exhausting, and it is indeed a great burden for a cultivator like Nizukiyu who has a short lifespan. Therefore, the other party's refusal was within Luo Hong's expectations. Don't worry, fellow Daoist Ni. Since you can take out what I need urgently, I will not treat you unfairly. There are 2 longevity pills in this bottle, which can increase your lifespan by 20 years, which is enough to make up for your loss. In addition, I see that you are practicing the earth-based technique, so I will give you this piece of Wu Earth Essence. After you refine it, your magic power should be much purer, so you must hand over a pound of silver gangsha to me within 3 years. Luo Hong shook his wrist, and a jade bottle and a jade box appeared on the table. Then he ordered calmly, "It's really a longevity pill. And Wu Earth Essence." Nizuki first grabbed the jade bottle, opened the bottle cap and smelled it, and his face immediately showed ecstasy. Then he opened the jade box, and saw that it was a Wu Earth Essence condensed from the purest earth-based essence. He was so excited that his hands trembled. He didn't know how much effort he had spent searching for these two things before, but he never found anything. To him, the preciousness of them was definitely the kind that he could exchange for his entire fortune. Now, these two spiritual objects were pushed in front of him, and the excitement and joy in his heart were beyond words. Luo, don't worry. I will do my best to produce a pound of silver gangsha within 3 years. The Confucian-dressed woman beside him blinked her beautiful eyes. For a moment, she was a little bit unable to accept Luo Hong's generosity, but when she thought that the other party was Xiangzila's junior brother, she was immediately relieved. Although Yunti ore is not rare, the price is not low. With the amount used by senior brother, I'm afraid that the spiritual stones on hand are not enough. How about this? The academy will advance the spiritual stones first. I wonder what senior brother thinks? That would be the best. I would like to thank my junior sister here. Nizuki smiled and bowed to the Confucian-dressed woman. Well, senior brother, you are polite. Brother Luo, do you have anything else to say? If not, we will not disturb you. The Confucian-dressed woman really hoped that Luo Hong would let her do something, but unfortunately Luo Hong did not mean to do so. When the two were sent out of the cave, the Confucian-dressed woman showed a trace of envy in her eyes and congratulated Nizuki, saying, "Brother Ni has this opportunity today. He will definitely be able to break through the middle stage of the nascent soul within 10 years, and then he can extend his life for several dozen years. This is really a cause for celebration. Haha, even if you make another step forward, I will just be struggling to survive, and the academy will have to be taken care of by my sister. Time is running out. I will go back home first." Nizuki spoke pessimistically, but his face was full of smiles. After all, if he lives one more year now, it is like picking up one more year. What's more, if he is lucky, he can live an extra 60 years. After watching Nizuki's escape light disappear in the sky, the Confucian-dressed woman did not return to her cave, but came to a secluded place in the academy. The escape light flashed and landed outside an elegant bamboo house. Walking into the house, I saw the young woman surnamed Yi waiting here with tea. However, the anxious look on her face destroyed the calm and relaxed mood of this place. "Fairy Dang, what do you mean by this? How did you provoke a late-stage nascent soul cultivator and let him stay in the academy?" Ever since she was scared away last time, the young woman surnamed Yi has been asking about the news of Hangru Academy. As a result, after a lot of trepidation, the news she got was that Hangru Academy welcomed the late-stage great cultivator of unknown origin into the formation. This made the young woman surnamed Yi think wildly, fearing that Luo Hong's appearance would disrupt their original plan. Fellow Daoist Yi, this is just an accident. Brother Luo has a connection with our Hangru Academy. He came here to rest and heal his injuries. He has no intention of entering the water palace at present. The woman in Confucian clothes slowly sat down cross-legged, her expression as indifferent as water. A connection? Seeing that Fairy Dong doesn't seem to be worried at all, this connection should be quite deep. So, is it reliable? The young woman surnamed Li rolled her eyes and moved a little closer. Although the other party did not say it clearly, the woman in Confucian clothes still heard what she meant. The so-called reliability is whether it can guarantee that Luo Hong will not kill people to steal treasures. Obviously, the young woman surnamed Yi also has the idea of using Luo Hong. It is absolutely reliable, but he doesn't seem to be very interested in the Yuhe pill. If we want to induce him to join us, I'm afraid we have to offer that as a price. The woman in the Confucian robe stared at the young woman surnamed Li and said, seeming to be very concerned about her attitude towards this matter, "No, there will be no more than 3 portions of the Liuli Cheyenne Bao liquid in the water palace. 1 portion for my Yi family, 1 portion for brother Yi, and 1 portion to stop the Buddhist sect from talking." There is not a single extra portion. Doesn't that fellow Daoist Luo have any other needs? When the young woman surnamed Yi heard that the Confucian robe woman wanted to take the Liuli Cheyenne Bao liquid, she immediately became anxious and hurriedly objected. If the Yi family can take out the Styx water, soul absorbing steel and evil dragon blood in one go, I think Brother Luo will also be willing to make a move. Although these spiritual materials are extremely precious, they are far inferior to the treasures in the water palace. The woman in the Confucian robe also knew that it was impossible to get the young woman surnamed Yi to give up the Liuli Cheyenne Bao liquid, so what she said at this time was a real suggestion. She is so good at the trick of seeking the best and getting the best. Isn't Fairy Dong making things difficult for my Yi family? These are the top spiritual materials of the magic path. How can my Yi family have these things? Besides, it is beneficial for all of us to bring Brother Luo into the team. Why should only a Yi family contribute? The young woman surnamed Yi frowned in dissatisfaction and said in an unhappy tone, because only your great Jin royal family can afford such a price. And this is definitely a business that can only make money and not lose money. If you bring Brother Luo over, your Yi family will naturally get more. Brother Yi, if you can't make a decision on this matter, Brother Luo will go to Jinjing in half a year, and then you can let the head of your Yi family talk to him in detail. The woman in the Confucian robe ignored the young woman surnamed Yi's crying paw. As the great Jin royal family, the largest immortal cultivation family in the human world, even if there is no inventory, can't they go to exchange it? As soon as these words came out, the bamboo house suddenly became quiet. Chapter 592. Message from the Old Demon. Jinjing is the capital of the Great Jin Dynasty, the most prosperous place in the human world, and a trading place for cultivators. Almost all the resources for cultivating immortals can be found in the 4 major markets in Jinjing. As long as there are enough spirit stones, even if one has poor qualifications, one can cultivate to the Jiandan realm. At this time, Luo Hong was standing in front of a huge palace, accompanied by a woman, but she was not Lu Zhu, but Dong Lijun, the great master of Hangru Academy. The huge palace in front of him was completely covered by a layer of 5-color light curtain, which looked magnificent and brilliant. Above this huge palace of precious light, there was another single-story palace made of white stone floating. The area of the white stone flying palace was slightly smaller, but it was also hundreds of feet wide. It was suspended above the head, which frightened many low-level cultivators who passed by. Luo Hong chose to come with Dong Lijun, so he had no intention of hiding his cultivation, and he wanted to take advantage of the convenience of Hangru Academy. Sure enough, after Dong Lijun revealed his identity, the foundation building cultivator guarding the gate called a maid and led the two to the high-altitude white stone flying palace. This palace is where the Yuanying level auction is held. After passing through a layer of pale white light curtain at the door, the two turned into 2 flying rainbows and escaped into it. At this time, there were still 2 hours before the auction started, but more than 100 Yuanying cultivators had gathered in the hall. The identity of a late-stage great cultivator meant that Luo Hong no longer had to squeeze into the hall with others as before. The foundation building maid who led the way took him directly to a box on the 2nd floor. After sitting down, Luo Hong shook his wrist and shot a beam of manalight at the wall of the box in front of him. Suddenly, the wall rippled like water waves and gradually became transparent, allowing him to overlook the entire venue. The last time I had this treatment was when I was in Xiangxing City. I don't know if Xian Huo Zenren has advanced to the Yuanying stage. After a brief thought, Luo Hong cast his gaze on the group of nascent soul cultivators in the venue. Although these people were only a small part of the top-level cultivators in Dajin, they represented the various forces of Dajin, both good and evil, and all of them were in the same hall. Some of them sat in a corner, waiting silently, but most of the nascent soul cultivators in the hall were still communicating with each other in groups of 3 or 2. With Luo Hong's divine sense, the voice transmissions of these cultivators who were at most in the middle stage of nascent soul were naturally like ordinary conversations, and he could easily hear them clearly. Brother Feng, it's been more than a year, and you haven't found the trace of that ugly man yet. In the hall, a thin old man in yellow asked helplessly with anger between his brows. Hey, ever since the Wuguang Mu of the first family in Guo County was forcibly bought by that ugly man, he has not committed any crimes again. I think he either heard the news and knew that we have organized many fellows to deal with him, or he has already gathered the necessary spiritual objects and has stopped from then on. The blue-robed fat man, who was called Brother Feng, was a cultivator in the middle stage of the nascent soul. At this moment, he shook his head slightly and said with no hope, "Hey, this thief is really cunning. If he stops like this, how can Gao avenge the forced sale of the fixing silk of our sect?" The old man in yellow slapped his thigh in anger. "Brother Gao, listen to my advice and don't worry about this matter anymore. Compared with those sects whose treasures were stolen for no reason, your Zixing sect is already very lucky." The blue-robed fat man shook his head and advised in a gentle voice, "What do you mean? Could it be that the masked thief who committed several major crimes in a row is the same person as the ugly man?" The old man in yellow was slightly stunned, then frowned and said, "Two monks who collect rare spiritual materials by any means, appear at the same time and disappear at the same time. This is too coincidental. Brother Gao, the restrictions in your Zixingman sect's treasure house should not be ordinary items, right?" The fat man in blue robe flashed a cunning look in his eyes and laughed with his chin trembling. "This is indeed as Brother Feng said. Thinking of this, I feel much better immediately. Thank you Brother Feng for your enlightenment." After the old man in yellow thanked him, he changed the topic and discussed the matters of cooperation between the sects. "Haha, the masked thief and the ugly man who forced to buy Han Leomo is really hardworking. He should have been refining a humanoid puppet by now. So, in another 5 or 6 years, Kunwu Divine Mountain will appear. Well, this time is so close to the opening of the water palace, and there are people from the Yi family involved. It won't have anything to do with it, right?" Luo Hong, who had just laughed at Han Leomo's news, suddenly pondered. After a while, 3 Yuanying Buddhist cultivators came into the hall at the same time. Luo Hong was immediately shocked by their shiny bald heads. "Huh, it's him, Master Yanjing of the Lian sect." A familiar face came into Luo Hong's eyes, and he immediately remembered this Buddhist cultivator who kept saying that he had a connection with Buddha. After not seeing each other for many years, although Yanjing's cultivation has been much more advanced, he is still in the middle stage of the Yuanying. The 2 monks beside him seem to be his junior brothers, both of whom have only the cultivation of the early Yuanying. Luo Hong wanted to say hello to him at the first moment, but when he remembered how eagerly he invited him to visit Lian sect, he could not help but shut up. Forget it, unless it is necessary. It is better not to get involved with this group of monks. I don't want to be persuaded to become a monk all day long. 2 hours passed in the blink of an eye. When the auction started, a middle-aged cultivator in the middle stage of Yuanying walked onto the stage and began to introduce the auction items one by one. At the beginning, it was naturally impossible for the spiritual materials that Luo Hong needed to appear, but it was possible to get familiar with the prices of goods in Dajin, so Luo Hong was not distracted at this time. After more than 10 items were auctioned, Luo Hong had a basic idea in his mind. The price of high-level spiritual materials was about 50,000 spiritual stones. As for the top-level spiritual materials, at least more than 100,000 spiritual stones were needed. If there was a little competition, it could be raised to 200,000. The 3 kinds of magic spiritual materials that Luo Hong needed were extremely rare, and the price would at least double because of their rarity. In other words, Luo Hong had to prepare 1.5 million spiritual stones before he could use them. You should know that the imitation spiritual treasure, Pingshan Seal, auctioned here a few years ago, only had a reserve price of 3 million spiritual stones, so 1.5 million spiritual stones is undoubtedly a huge sum of money. Before coming here, Luo Hong had counted the spiritual stones that he had not paid attention to for a long time, but he found that he had no spiritual stones left without realizing it. A late-stage great monk only had 300,000 spiritual stones in his pocket, which was simply embarrassing. However, this does not mean that Luo Hong is a pauper. He just exchanged all the spiritual stones for various spiritual materials, and most of the spiritual materials became Rakshasa Ghost Hand, Shen Feng Shadowless Sword and Ancient Talismans. There was no way Luo Hong could only call the maid and give her a jade box. Although it is against the rules to add items halfway through the auction, who said that we are now the ones who make the rules. Chapter 593 Soul Absorbing Steel. As the hours passed, the auction and the Beishi Flying Palace had lasted for a day. However, this was just the beginning. According to the plan, the auction would last for 7 consecutive days. In this way, it was naturally impossible to put all the finale items on the last day. He could only take out a part of the finale items for auction every day. Luo Hong needed top-level magic spiritual materials. He actually did not have any hope for the 7-day Flying Palace auction, but set his sights on the subsequent underground trade fair. The underground trade fair was full of magicians, and many items that could not be bought and sold openly appeared. The possibility of gathering the 3 spiritual materials was the greatest. However, what surprised Luo Hong was that at the end of the first day, the Styx water was on the auction stage. All the demon cultivators should be alert. The next lot is a top-grade demon material that is extremely rare. If you miss this opportunity, you will definitely beat your chest and stamp your feet. The middle-aged man on the auction table livened up the atmosphere. He grabbed a black jade bottle with a dead aura from the tray held by the maid, showed it to everyone and said, "The water of the Styx was accidentally produced in the extremely fierce and deadly place. It took 3,000 years to form its shape, and then it was refined for half a year with the evil spirits of hundreds of evil spirits, to finally get this bottle. It can be used to refine the dead soul corpse king, and it can also be used to temper magic tools to increase their power. The starting price is 150,000 spirit stones, and each bid is not less than 10,000. As soon as the voice fell, all the demon cultivators in the hall were excited, and their eyes turned red. This Styx water is indeed as the middle-aged man said, it can greatly increase the strength of a Yuanying demon cultivator in a short period of time, so a fight is inevitable. 160,000. 200,000. I'll give 250,000. For a while, the voices of bidding in the hall rose and fell, and soon the price was raised to 300,000. Good fellow, he came up and emptied me out. Luo Hong cursed inwardly, knowing that he couldn't wait any longer, and immediately said in a deep voice, 320,000. Although Luo Hong's voice was not loud, it came from above his head. What it meant, all the cultivators in the hall naturally understood. So, after Luo Hong's offer, the hall suddenly became silent. Jinjing's auction can be so large, naturally it is very disciplined. Few people dare to kill people and grab treasures as soon as the auction begins. Even the cultivators in the late nascent soul stage will have some scruples. But the great cultivators in the late stage not only have strength, but also financial resources. The demon cultivator who originally participated in the auction thought that he would definitely not be able to compete with the other party in terms of spirit stones. In the end, the Styx water would not fall into his hands, but would offend a demon cultivator in the late nascent soul stage because of the price increase. It was really a loss-making business. If they knew that Luo Hong didn't have enough spiritual stones, how wonderful would their faces be? A cultivator in the late nascent soul stage should not be insulted anywhere. After advancing to the next level, I really made the right decision to come to Dajin. Luo Hong was secretly proud of himself. With a thought, he put the Styx water sent by the maid into the treasure bag and said lightly, "The spiritual stones will be deducted from Luo's auction item. Go down." As if she had been told long ago, the maid who built the foundation had no objection, and left the box obediently. This made the woman in the Confucian robes on the side look at Luo Hong sideways, wondering what kind of treasure it was that could be auctioned at a high price of more than 300,000 spiritual stones? Exclamation mark. After being stimulated by the Styx water, the demon cultivators in the hall who had originally come to try their luck became excited, and many of them even sent sound transmission notes outside the hall. As a result, within half a day, more than a dozen nascent soul demon cultivators joined the auction halfway. 3 days later, a box opposite Luo Hong lit up with spiritual light, and it also emitted a black and grey glow. It was obvious that the visitor was an old demon in the late nascent soul stage, but it was unknown which of the 10 great demon sects he came from. After the short-lived Styx water, the Fedian auction was back on track, and no more top-level demon spiritual materials appeared, as if that was an accident. Soon, it was the last day of the auction, and everyone was looking forward to the finale, prepared by the auction house. After several powerful ancient treasures were auctioned off in succession, a black, seemingly ordinary piece of metal was invited to the auction table. The middle-aged monk who presided over the auction suddenly offered a small black flag without saying a word, and then a female ghost with a fierce face flew out of the flag. The female ghost Sora was close to the late stage of foundation building, and she was quite intelligent. After looking around, she rushed straight towards the foundation building maid holding the tray. The yin energy rushed to her face, and the maid's face suddenly turned extremely pale, but she did not dare to step back at this time. As a result, just as the female ghost pounced within 3 feet, a circle of black rays of light suddenly swung out from the metal block, and after touching the female ghost, it suddenly retracted. The female ghost screamed, and was pulled into the black metal block, disappearing without a trace in an instant. Soul-absorbing steel. This kind of magic steel refined by ancient magic cultivators is still preserved. It's incredible. The method of refining this magic steel has long been lost. This is probably the last few pieces in the human world. Huang Mingzi quickly bid the bottom price. A piece of soul-absorbing steel. The bottom price is 300,000 spirit stones, and each increase is not less than 10,000. Everyone, let's start. As soon as the middle-aged cultivator finished speaking, the audience immediately burst into bidding. The price of soul-absorbing steel was rising, and Luo Hong's blood pressure also rose. After all, he still underestimated the wealth of the Dajin magic cultivators. When the price of soul-absorbing steel was raised to 500,000 spirit stones, it finally eliminated the vast majority of magic cultivators, and Luo Hong also took action at this time. 600,000 spirit stones. In one breath, Luo Hong raised the price to 600,000. Totally unlike a person with only 300,000 spirit stones in his pocket. The greatest use of soul-sucking steel is to refine soul-devouring magic weapons. This kind of magic weapon has the heaven-defying magical power to absorb the souls of living beings and enhance its own power. Under such a great temptation, the deterrent power of the late-stage Yuanying magic cultivators is slightly insufficient. The offer of 600,000 did not scare off the wealthy magic cultivators in the hall. They gritted their teeth and competed with Luo Hong, won 10,000 at a time. At this time, a very charming voice that made people's hearts tremble came from the box opposite Luo Hong. 650,000. Please be merciful to you gentlemen. In the hall, the two mid-stage Yuanying magic cultivators who were still bidding heard the voice, and their eyes suddenly became confused, but they soon shuddered and woke up. They looked at the box with pale faces, and then lowered their heads deeply, obviously giving up the bid. Fairy Dang, do you know this person? Even in the Great Jin Dynasty, there are not many demon cultivators in the late nascent soul stage. Dang Legend should be able to recognize him easily as he is in charge of a sect. Brother Luo, we may be in trouble. The other party should be the great elder of the Shanu sect, one of the 10 great demon sects, Xiaoguana. This woman is most famous for her vengeful character, and she seems to have some unclear relationship with the old demon Hu, so she acts with few scruples. If Brother Luo competes with her for the soul-absorbing steel, it is possible that he will fight with her after leaving the venue. Dang Legend frowned, and a heartbreaking worry appeared on her face. Haha, Luo is afraid of her. Luo Hong smiled coldly, and immediately raised the price to 660,000 spirit stones without hesitation. Of course, this was not a dispute of will. Putting aside the fact that the soul-absorbing steel was something he was determined to get, the skills that Xiaoguana showed alone showed that she was a cultivator who was proficient in seductive techniques. And with Luo Hong's spiritual realm, he wouldn't mind letting the demon species taste the meat that these cultivators delivered to his door. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 594, 5 Element Essence Stone. 670,000. Ha ha ha, your aura is unfamiliar. Could it be that you are a newly promoted late-stage master cultivator? Zioguana quoted a price and smiled charmingly, and even asked about Luo Hong's background. "Hey, I'm a casual cultivator in Liaozhou, not worth mentioning. 680,000. Luo Hong responded casually, with a very impolite attitude. "Ah, you are going to fight with Guana to the end. You are really cruel." The charming voice penetrated the bones, and this woman actually used the charm in the venue. The restrictions on the box were nothing special, and of course they could not resist the methods of late-stage demon cultivators. Suddenly, Luo Hong had an illusion in front of his eyes, and Yuan Yao's charming smile gradually emerged. "You are looking for death, King Feng." In an instant, Luo Hong shattered the illusion, and a flash of fire flashed in his eyes, and he shouted angrily. A green ghost hand suddenly stretched out from the sleeve of Luo Hong's right arm, and just a virtual grab, a group of invisible divine thoughts was caught in its hand. "Dao, please show mercy." Zioguana sensed that part of her mind was captured. Her face changed immediately, and she begged for mercy in panic. However, Luo Hong was furious at the moment. How could he let her go? He just snorted coldly. King Feng immediately understood, and used his magical power to tear off the captured mind. As soon as the green ghost hand retracted its sleeves, it immediately made a tsk sound of tasting delicious food. "Ah, how dare you swallow my mind." The loss of a small part of the mind was not serious, but the severe pain of the soul being torn apart made Zioguana almost crazy. At this time, there was no longer a trace of charm in her voice, only the murderous intent that made people feel cold all over. Just before Zioguana went crazy and attacked, a deep male voice came from another box. "Zio Fairy, this is Jinjing. You can't be so presumptuous." Being locked by the malicious thoughts of two cultivators of the same level, even Zioguana, a late-stage great demon cultivator, couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart, and his anger was instantly extinguished. Who did I think it was? It turned out to be Boss Yi. What? This auction is so important that you need to be in charge in person? Well, then I have to wait and see, and this soul-sucking steel will be given to this cruel man. Zioguana's eyes turned, and she thought a lot in an instant. In the end, she knew that she couldn't get the upper hand by fighting 1 against 2, so she gave in. But everyone knew that the feud between the two had already been formed. Hearing this, the middle-aged cultivator who presided over the auction immediately announced that Luo Hong won the soul-sucking steel with 680,000 spirit stones. When the soul-absorbing steel was put into the jade box and taken off the auction stage, the nascent soul cultivators in the hall finally put down their worries. They didn't want to get involved in the fight between the late-stage great cultivators. Faced with a huge bill of 680,000 spirit stones, Luo Hong still said that the money from the auction would be used to settle the bill. Dong Lijin couldn't sit still anymore, because she realized that the jade box that was taken away from her before contained a treasure worth millions of spirit stones. Just when she was so curious that she felt like a cat's claw was scratching her heart, the familiar jade box was brought to the stage by a foundation building maid. The nascent soul cultivators in the hall also calmed down and stared at the auction item behind the soul-absorbing steel with full concentration. "Everyone, the next lot is quite special. Although it is not as rare as soul-absorbing steel, it is of great benefit to almost everyone. Please look at the second to last lot, the essence of the 5 element." The lid of the jade box slid open in the hands of the middle-aged monk, revealing 5 crystals in the box that were as big as half a normal person's finger and shining with brilliant light. "Fire essence. Such a big piece is enough for me to refine all my mana. Great. I'm just worried about how to break through the bottleneck." Seeing that everyone was getting excited, the middle-aged cultivator did not hesitate, holding the 5 crystal stones in front of his chest and introducing them. Each of these 5 element essence stones is of the highest quality. Daoists who practice the 5 element techniques only need to refine a piece of the corresponding 5 element to make the purity of their mana reach a higher level. At that time, both their strength and the chance of breaking through the bottleneck of the nascent soul will be greatly improved. However, our auction house is also auctioning this treasure on behalf of the owner. The owner requires that all 5 pieces must be sold together, so the starting price is 1 million spirit stones, and each bid must not be less than 50,000 spirit stones. As soon as these words came out, the casual cultivators in the hall were in an uproar, either angry or disappointed, and were extremely dissatisfied with this arrangement. Although the 5 element essence stones are good, each cultivator can only refine the one corresponding to the attribute of his own technique, which means that most cultivators only need 1, a few need 2, and 5 are absolutely useless. In such a bundled auction, only the sects would compete for it, and since there is only one chance, the bidding will be quite fierce at the beginning. For a while, dozens of sound transmission nodes rushed out of the hall, all of which were used by the Yuanian cultivators in the hall to notify their own sects to send spiritual stones. In the box, Luo Hong was sitting on the Diote at this time. After all, the starting price had exceeded the bill he was facing. Brother Luo, may I ask if you still have the essence of the gold element? I'm willing to exchange it with the auction price this time. Before, seeing Luo Hong casually taking out a small piece of the essence of the earth element as a reward, Dong Lijun had no idea, but now she saw Luo Hong actually took out a full set of the essence of the 5 element in one breath, and the quality was far superior to the previous one, and she immediately realized that the other party had the means to refine the 5 element essence stone. This made her unable to remain calm, and she was full of hope to buy one with her relationship. If I hadn't urgently needed spiritual stones, I wouldn't have auctioned off this only set of 5 element essence stones that are very useful. I really don't have many on hand. If Fairy Dong really wants it, she can only participate in the bidding. 5 element essence is not easy to obtain. There is no spiritual land in the human world that can be used to directly refine 5 element essence. Luo Hong only got a batch by refining the spiritual energy from top level 5 element spiritual materials. This is still the case when he has an innate 5 element body. Otherwise, each 5 element essence stone in the auction would take a Yuanian cultivator 100 years to refine. In addition to the set in the auction, he has a total of 2 sets left, all of which are prepared for critical moments. After all, no matter how much his innate 5 element body is injured, as long as he absorbs enough 5 element essence, he can heal himself instantly. If it weren't for this kind of life-saving thing, Luo Hong could refine it continuously, and he wouldn't be willing to auction it off. Alas. With the strength of Hongru Academy, how can we compete with the top sects of both the righteous and evil ways? Forget it. If we are not destined to be together, we can't force it. Dong Lijun sighed slightly. If the 5 element essence stones are used well, they can greatly increase the strength of 5 nascent soul cultivators and give them more opportunities to advance. Those sects with more than 5 nascent soul mid-stage cultivators are all bidding like chicken blood at this moment. The chance of a single stone making a sect gain a new nascent soul late-stage cultivator is not high, but if 5 stones are added together, the chance is very impressive. If you are lucky, it may become an opportunity for the sect to greatly leap forward in strength and surpass previous opponents. It is precisely because everyone understands this that the price of the 5 element essence stones quickly soared to 3 million, and there is no intention to stop there. Among them, the one who shouted the most fiercely was the emperor of the Great Jin dynasty, who was called the late-stage great cultivator of Yi Laoda by Zhao Guana. However, both the righteous and evil sects had received the news, and they naturally could not let such a treasure that could greatly increase the strength of a force in a short period of time fall into the hands of the Yi family, which they had always suppressed. So they send out representatives one after another to frantically oppose Boss Yi, and even at this time, many late-stage masters of both the righteous and evil sects had rushed here. Chapter 595 Ancient Evil Dragon Blood. 5 million spirit stones. Please don't break the rules. If you can't deliver the goods on the spot after bidding, don't blame me for following the rules. This auction house was originally owned by the royal family of Dajin. As soon as the 5 element essence stone was delivered to the appraiser, Yi Zheng knew about it, so he had already secretly transferred a large number of spirit stones. Although the other Yuanian cultivators in the hall reacted quickly, they still couldn't gather enough spirit stones to compete with them in a short period of time. After all, this was just an ordinary auction. There was no publicity beforehand, so naturally no one would deliberately prepare a huge amount of spirit stones. When the price of the 5-element essence stone was raised to 5 million spirit stones, even the top sects of the righteous and evil ways could not afford a higher price. But they did not give up the competition because of this, but instead they linked up with each other. Several sects joined together to continue to raise the price. It seemed that they were willing to suppress the Yi family at all costs, offering 6 million. Brother Kihuan, your Yueyang palace is really rich. Forget it, I won't fight for it. Congratulations, Brother Kihuan. Although the words coming out of the box sounded polite, people could hear the hidden anger in them. Haha, Boss Yi, don't fight for things that you shouldn't fight for. After all these years, don't you understand? Zhao Guana immediately seized the opportunity and ridiculed Yi Zheng for taking advantage of his misfortune. Although she was a little resistant to the righteous path taking this batch of 5-element essence stones, the situation in which the righteous and evil paths have been in opposition for countless years cannot be broken by one more or one less cultivator in the late nascent soul stage, so it is relatively acceptable. Thank you for the advice of Fairy Zhao, I will definitely repay you. Yi Zheng was very yin and yang, and it was obvious that he was holding a grudge. Hearing this, Zhao Guana thought that Yi Zheng was just incompetent and furious, and laughed twice, not taking it to heart at all. After the auction of the 5-element essence stone ended, a maid soon brought a storage ring to Luo Hong. Luo Hong looked inside with his spiritual sense and immediately saw a hill of various spiritual stones, which looked very spectacular. To be honest, the high price of 6 million spiritual stones for the 5-element essence stone was beyond Luo Hong's expectation. He thought that 5 million spiritual stones was the limit. Obviously, he still underestimated the blockade of the Yi family by both the righteous and the evil, which simply did not give the Yi family a chance to grow and develop. As the 5-element essence stone stepped down, the monks in the hall couldn't help but be curious about the last item. It should be more precious than the 5-element essence stone. So, under the attention of everyone, a transparent crystal bottle filled with grey-red viscous liquid was brought to the auction table. A bottle of ancient evil dragon blood. The reserve price is 2 million spirit stones, and each bid must not be less than 100,000. Everyone, please feel it. For some reason, the middle-aged cultivator did not introduce this finale item in detail this time, but instead stated the reserve price right away. Then, he raised his right palm slightly, and the cap of the transparent crystal bottle suddenly floated up. The next moment, everyone saw a string of runes flashing on the bottle, and a fierce and domineering aura surged out. For a moment, everyone in the hall seemed to have seen the ancient evil dragon with a true body of 1,000 feet, causing a commotion. Ancient evil dragon blood. Luo Hong looked at the transparent crystal bottle on the auction table, frowning and muttering to himself. The so-called evil dragon is a special kind of demon dragon that can be cultivated by the hands of the nascent soul demon cultivator. Its blood has the terrible effect of intensifying the demonic energy and greatly enhancing the power of the magic power. In addition, for cultivators who practice certain magic techniques, evil dragon blood is a treasure comparable to immortal medicine, which can greatly improve their cultivation. The ancient evil dragon blood is 10 times more precious than the evil dragon blood. The former cannot be artificially refined like the latter, and the former's efficacy is more than 5 times higher than the latter. After confirming that it was the ancient evil dragon blood, the cultivators in the hall couldn't help but show a look of astonishment. After all, this thing should not appear at the auction, but should be locked in the treasure house. Did you spread the news? In the box, Luo Hong still stared at the bottle of ancient evil dragon blood and asked lightly. Yes, but I didn't expect it to be like this. Dung Lijian's delicate body trembled, and she admitted it immediately without hiding anything. The appearance of a bottle of Styx water can be said to be an accident, and the subsequent soul-sucking steel can also be called a coincidence, but the appearance of the ancient evil dragon blood made Luo Hong completely understand. This auction was held specifically for him. Thinking of the owner of the auction house, Luo Hong looked towards Yi Zheng's box. Haha, it seems that the water palace is indeed related to Kunwu Mountain. Otherwise, even for me, it is not worth the Yi family to spend so much money. While Luo Hong was thinking, Dung Lijian was terrified. She never expected that the Yi family would use such a clumsy means of winning over. Isn't this equivalent to selling her out? Exclamation mark. Fortunately, Luo Hong didn't seem to have the intention to pursue it. Soon after getting her response, he started to bid. At this time, all the demon cultivators in the hall were furious, and in an instant they raised the price of the ancient evil dragon blood to 3 million. 4 million. Luo Hong planned to make a quick decision, so he raised the price by 1 million spirit stones as soon as he opened his mouth. Moreover, he didn't bid casually. When bidding for the 5-element spirit stone just now, his competitors all showed their true colors. 4 million spirit stones were beyond the endurance limit of all the cultivators present. Unless they united, like they did just now, this bottle of ancient evil dragon blood would be in Luo Hong's pocket. However, the situation was different at that time. There was only one ancient evil dragon blood, and the demon cultivators all had strange tempers. It was impossible for them to unite in a short time. 4.5 million. A delicate cry came out, raising Luo Hong's bid by another 500,000. Luo Hong looked up and saw that Xiao Guana had removed the restrictions of the box, revealing her true face. This female demon in the late nascent soul stage was extremely beautiful and charming. At this time, she was wearing a thin gauze, and her snow white skin was exposed. It could be said that she was full of spring light. However, none of the nascent soul cultivators below dared to look up, as if they would fall into an irreversible situation if they just took a look. Fairy Xiao, have you forgotten the rules that you emphasized so quickly? You probably don't have that many spirit stones now. Yi Zheng seemed to have been waiting for this, and he actually said something in response. HMPH. Boss Yi, you are not my lover. How do you know that I don't have enough spirit stones? Mr. Luo over there, as long as you are willing to give in now, I can not only put aside the past grudges with you, but also make you feel like you are in heaven. Xiao Guana lifted her beautiful legs and slowly pulled up her gauze skirt. Whether it is enough, we will know after checking. Luo also has some doubts. Please cooperate with me, Fairy Xiao. Luo Hong was not moved at all, and said in a cold tone, I was delayed today by something, and there is still one chapter before 12 o'clock. Chapter 596 Garden Meeting. HMPH. You guys remember this? Seeing Luo Hong's unyielding attitude, Xiao Guana's face changed instantly, and after a scolding, he fled out of the hall. The contradictions of the late great cultivators were naturally not something that the cultivators in the hall could get involved in. Therefore, until Xiao Guana left, the middle-aged cultivator on the auction table coughed twice and continued to host. Since Xiao Fairy just quoted a false price, the auction price of the ancient evil dragon blood has returned to 4 million spirit stones. Are there any Taoist friends willing to increase the price? After waiting for a few breaths, seeing that no one spoke, the middle-aged cultivator decisively announced that the ancient evil dragon blood was successfully auctioned, a little faster than any time before. After handing over the spirit stones, Luo Hong casually put the ancient evil dragon blood into the Wanbao bag, and then fled out of the hall with an expressionless face, and landed in the market. Don't stand there, lead the way. Hearing the sound of landing behind him, Luo Hong suddenly said without looking back. Dong Lijun was stunned when he heard the words. Then he reacted with a happy face and said hurriedly, okay. Brother Luo, please come with me. Seeing the woman's fearful look, Luo Hong laughed secretly in his heart. For him, the water palace must be entered, and Kunwu Mountain must also be crossed. Although Dong Lijun has crossed the line, what he did is only good for Luo Hong. This is equivalent to someone suddenly paying you to do something you are supposed to do, and it is also very beneficial to another thing that must be done. Such a good thing, you can't find it even with a lantern. Therefore, Luo Hong didn't feel angry with this woman, but wanted to give her 12 thumbs up. Under the guidance of Dong Lijun, Luo Hong left the market and went straight to the palace of Dajin. After passing many checkpoints along the way and checking several times, the two came to a place in the Imperial Garden. I saw that there was a young man in a Confucian robe waiting by a jade table. Although Luo Hong had never seen this person, he recognized him as Yi Zheng from his magical aura. Brother Luo, I didn't expect you to come so soon. Would you mind sitting down and drinking a few cups with me? Seeing Yi Zheng, who looked like a rich young man, stood up and bowed slightly to Luo Hong. Brother Yi has taken so much trouble to invite me, I will naturally give him face. However, I'm very picky about spiritual wine. Although Luo Hong was very happy in his heart, he obviously couldn't show it. He spoke a little impolitely to show his dissatisfaction. Haha, it is indeed me who is reckless. I will punish myself with 3 cups first. Yi Zeng immediately understood what Luo Hong meant, and immediately drank 3 cups in a row with great dignity. So, Luo Hong took the opportunity to sit down opposite Yi Zeng, and said straight to the point, Brother Yi, let's not beat around the bush. You gave me such a big gift for nothing. Is it for the matter of the water palace? The 3 kinds of magic spiritual materials, the Styx water, are all priceless things, especially the blood of the ancient evil dragon, which is a resource that can be used as the foundation of power. Therefore, although Luo Hong spent a lot of spiritual stones for this, he still owed a lot of favors to the Yi family. It is precisely because these 3 kinds of magic spiritual materials are too precious that Yi Zeng gave them to him in the form of an auction. If it was given away for free, the price would be too high. In addition, through the auction, Yi Zeng can also test Luo Hong's background. Since Luo Hong collected magic spiritual materials, he could not be a cultivator of the righteous way. At the auction, Luo Hong was unceremoniously confronted with Zhao Guana and was ruthless, so it can be basically determined that he has nothing to do with the magic. After all, which magic cultivator dares not give some face to Luo No? As long as Luo Hong is not a person of the righteous or evil ways, even if his origin is questionable, Yi Zeng still dares to use him. Yes, the trip to Pingjiang Water Palace is very important to my Yi family. I will not hide it from Brother Luo. There is a glazed sky pool in the water palace, which is rich in a kind of natural treasure called glazed sky treasure liquid. This treasure liquid can help Yuan cultivators refine glazed pure bodies, greatly improve their control of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and thus increase the chances of us breaking through to the god transformation. Therefore, you must get this glazed sky treasure liquid. Luo Hong had never heard of the name of glazed sky treasure liquid. It should be a specialty of Dajin. After he digested it for a moment, he asked solemnly, how much can it increase the chance of breaking through to the god transformation? Yi Zeng stretched out a finger with a solemn expression and said, 10%. 10%. It is indeed enough. Luo Hong nodded secretly in his heart. After all, it is the chance of breaking through the god transformation realm, and 10% is enough for all Yuan late cultivators to scramble for it. However, the so-called glazed pure body could not be compared to Luo Hong's innate 5-element body, which he had verified through the battle data from Luo GUI. In other words, the glazed heavenly treasure liquid was of no value to Luo Hong. There is such a treasure in the world. From what Brother Yi said, as long as Luo participates in it, he can get a portion of glazed heavenly treasure liquid. Luo Hong pretended to be shocked, with greed in his eyes. He acted like this to let Yi Zeng relax his vigilance. After all, he knew that the glazed heavenly treasure liquid was probably just a false target, and Yi Zeng's real target was the clues about Kunwu Mountain and the Water Palace. The latter happened to be of great use to Luo Hong. I'm afraid this will disappoint Brother Luo. There should be only 3 portions of Liuli Cheyenne Bale liquid in that Liuli Cheyenne Chi, and each portion has already been taken. However, I can promise Brother Luo that after 260 years, the new portion of Liuli Cheyenne Bale liquid in the Cheyenne Chi will belong to Brother Luo. Brother Luo, please bear with me for 100 years for the sake of the ancient evil dragon blood, Yi Zeng said, and bowed deeply to Luo Hong. 1 portion for Brother Yi, 1 portion for Brother Yi, and I don't know who the other portion belongs to? Luo Hong did not agree immediately, but asked. The other portion belongs to Master Biao of the Pure Land sect. He did not participate in the last gathering, because he was in seclusion before. Dong Lijin explained appropriately. Oh. So, Brother Yi will also be there? Luo Hong asked suspiciously. Hey, Brother Luo, you have seen today how strict the blockade of our Yi family by both the righteous and evil sects is. They completely regard us as tools to manage Tajin. Not to mention that I can't get away, even the mid-nascent soul cultivators in the clan can't go, so only the brother and sister from my 7th brother's family can represent us. Yi Zeng sighed slightly, took a sip of wine and said, In fact, I don't understand why all the Liuli Xianbao have been divided up, and you still came to invite me? Aren't you afraid that I will take your share? Luo Hong looked at Yi Zeng with an ambiguous look. I believe that Brother Luo is not such a faithless person, and I also believe in Brother Yi and Master Biu. As for why Brother Luo must join, we have to start with the cave spirit of Taping Water Palace. Chapter 597 Plans and Conditions. Yi Zeng's words concealed a threat. If you think about it carefully, you will know that he is using Yi Zishan and Bu to warn Luo Hong in order to ensure the safety of his Liuli Xianbao liquid. But the loophole is too big. If Luo Hong is determined to rob it, how can two cultivators in the early stage of the nascent soul stop him? At that time, he will rob it and run away. Yi Zishan and the others will never be able to stop him. Therefore, whether he can get his Liuli Xianbao liquid depends on whether Luo Hong is trustworthy. Luo Hong doesn't believe that Yi Zeng would trust him so much when he only met him once. This makes no sense. The only explanation is that Yi Zeng doesn't care about Liuli Xianbao liquid at all. From his subsequent words, Luo Hong is more certain of this. According to the information collected by my Yi family, the restrictions of Taping Water Palace are all under the control of the cave spirits. With the help of the spiritual energy of the river, the power of the restrictions has not weakened much to this day. Even if we break through the outer formation, if we ignore the cave spirits and force our way into it, we will be teleported thousands of miles away by the power of the restrictions. Fortunately, the formation master of my Yi family has come up with a solution. Since the cave spirits have no intelligence and only act according to the rules, and the water palace is definitely in a state of lack of spiritual energy, when it faces a pure and abnormal spiritual energy, it will inevitably absorb it without thinking. Taking this opportunity, we can use the Hunling powder to make it unconscious, thereby paralyzing most of the restrictions in the water palace. And the only one who can provide such pure spiritual energy is a Taoist friend in the late Yuanying stage. Brother Luo, that is a complete cave of ancient cultivation of the god of transformation. As far as Yi knows, its owner has never opened the water palace since it closed it. If it were not for the changes in time, which caused the aura of the formation to leak out, it would have remained silent. Although Brother Luo can't get the glazed heaven treasure liquid on this trip, the ancient cultivator who has reached the state of transformation has left so many things that they can make up for your losses. Yi Zeng persuaded with a slightly excited look. After some explanation, Yi Zeng's purpose has been made very clear. The reason why he insisted on attracting Luo Hong to participate in the trip to the water palace was to increase the activity time of everyone in the water palace by half. But no matter how you think about it, this is a losing deal. With most of the restrictions in the water palace paralyzed, it is very likely that the two late-stage nascent soul cultivators will collect the glazed heaven treasure liquid in a short period of time. Yi Zeng has no need to take a huge risk and let Luo Hong, a variable, participate in it, just to exchange for a short period of activity time. But if you think about it from another angle, this proves that the value of extending the activity time is more valuable to Yi Zeng than the glazed heaven treasure liquid. What this means is self-evident. The investigation is so clear. Brother Yi's family has really worked hard. According to what you said, the Lord of the Water Palace may have had an accident during cultivation and died in his own cave. Luo Hong's eyes flickered, and he seemed to be moved. I can't say for sure, I can only say that there is a 50% chance. After all, the time is too long, and it is impossible to make an accurate inference based on the records in ancient books alone. Yi Zeng did not make big promises and said with a serious face, 50% is not low. How about this? If Brother Yi agrees that the possible remains of the ancient cultivator belong to me, I swear to give up the Liuli Xianbao liquid. If I rush at this time, it will be too fake. So Luo Hong wants to take the opportunity to put forward some conditions. Moreover, the origin of the true spirit is very likely in the corpse of the ancient cultivator. I'm afraid that's unlikely. After all, it's the corpse of an ancient cultivator who has reached the state of transformation. It's not realistic for Brother Luo to own all of them. However, I can discuss with Brother Yi and Master Biu, so that you can pick two first. Yi Zeng pondered for a moment and made a decision with some embarrassment. Haha, Brother Yi is honest. That's fine too. It depends on my own vision at that time. As he said that, Luo raised his wine glass, arched towards Yi Zheng, and then drank it all. Haha, it's great that brother Luo can agree. I'll toast you another glass. After a round of toasts, Luo Hong was ready to say goodbye. Yi Zheng reminded him, when he said goodbye, brother Luo, you'd better be careful on your way back. That Xiao Guana will definitely make some moves. Haha, it's fine if that female devil doesn't come. If she dares to provoke me, I, a casual cultivator, am not afraid of the revenge of the people behind her. Goodbye. After saying that, Luo Hong turned into a blue light and soared into the sky. Dong Lijun bowed to Yi Zheng and hurriedly followed him. After the two of them left, a scary looking big-headed man walked out from the shadow of a flower bed, sat down opposite Yi Zheng without any courtesy, grabbed the wine pot and drank a lot. Seventh brother, how did you investigate that man? Yi Zheng obviously knew the big-headed man and asked seriously. The time is too short, and I didn't find anything useful. I only know that this fellow Luo is indeed from Liaozhou, and he once played in a local immortal cultivation family, and accepted a person as a disciple. From the information collected, it is very likely that this fellow Luo has obtained the complete inheritance of the ancient cultivators, and his magical powers should be strong. Although his origins are still unclear, it is very likely that he is a casual cultivator. The big-headed man threw the wine pot away and told all the information he had found. Like Yi Zheng, he is the direct bloodline of the Yi family. Many years ago, he was killed by the two sects of good and evil and faked his death to escape. He has been hiding in the dark to practice and has long been a cultivator in the late Yuanying stage. Therefore, Yi Zheng trusted his words very much. Dong Lijun said that he was a casual cultivator from Liaozhou, and he was willing to endorse this, which could also increase his credibility. Yi Zheng frowned, nodded after pondering, and continued, it doesn't matter if his origin is unknown, as long as he is not from the righteous or evil ways, he can be used. By the way, Old 7, has Elder Han made any unusual moves recently? Although his cultivation is inferior to ours, he always makes me feel scared. That guy and my second nephew have been guarding in the southern border, responsible for blocking the news, and they are too obedient. The big-headed weirdo also had a very bad impression of Elder Han, and said in a vicious tone, this person must have his own plan when entering Kunwu Mountain. When the time comes, Old 7, you should pay more attention to him. Don't let this person ruin our Yi family's plan. Yi Zheng clenched his fists, his eyes seemed to be burning like fire. Don't worry, I'm also from the Yi family, I know what to do. The big-headed weirdo smiled sinisterly. An hour later, two beams of light streaked across the night sky over the outskirts of Jinjing, one after the other, like a falling star that night. Brother Luo, this is not the direction of Hudanqi Mountain, where are we going? Dong Lijun couldn't help but ask after holding it in for a long time. Before going back, Luo plans to stop by Qinggan Temple. If Fairy Dong is afraid of affecting Hangru Academy, she should go back first. Luo Hong is not the type of person who will not fight back when beaten. If Xiao Guana wants to plot against him, he has to be prepared. Chapter 598 Qinggan Temple. When Dong Lijun heard that Luo Hong was going to Qinggan Temple, she immediately realized that his visit must be related to Chifeng Lei. If she followed him, she would be blatantly violating the rules of the two paths of Confucianism and the righteous and evil. This is a huge trouble for Hangru Academy, and it is likely to bring irreparable consequences. She was about to retreat, but suddenly realized that her decision would not hinder the overall situation. Because whether she followed or not, Luo Hong would return to Danqi Mountain, and the account would eventually be counted on Hangru Academy. Is this revenge? Dong Lijun clenched her jade fists and thought with a trembling body. But the next moment, she calmed down and found that this should not be revenge. After all, Luo Hong didn't need to go through so much trouble to take revenge, and killing someone with a borrowed knife was a superfluous move. So, he deliberately chose this time to make a scene in Qinggan Temple, and he had another purpose. After breaking the rules, Hangru Academy had to have a backer to protect itself, and it couldn't be a backer like the Yi family that couldn't be put on the table. In this way, she had no choice but to rely on Luo Hong. So, To be precise, Luo Hong wanted to force Hongru Academy to completely turn to him and become grasshoppers on the same rope. He is really scheming, taking advantage of the situation, plotting openly, and not giving me any room for choice. He is more like a king than Yi Zheng. After Dong Lijin's thoughts turned over, a blush of excitement appeared on his face, and he said in a trembling voice, "No, brother Luo, I will go with you." Dependence can be divided into passive and active. It is obvious that the latter is much more effective, which is exactly what Dong Lijin chose. Hearing this, Luo Hong almost couldn't help but look back at Dong Lijin in surprise. He wanted to take the opportunity to provoke the conflict between the righteous and the evil, disgust both sides, and didn't want to implicate Hongru Academy. As a result, this great gentleman didn't understand his kindness. "Good guy, you usually look quiet and distant, but I didn't expect you are also a person who likes to watch the fun." Since the other party wanted to go, Luo Hong would not stop him. Anyway, Hongru Academy has Xiang Laogli as a big thigh, so nothing big will happen. Qingyuan Temple and Jinjing are located in the same prefecture, and it is a male planted by Yueyang Palace, one of the 10 major sects of the righteous path. Its purpose is to clamp down on the royal family of Dajin to win over high-level monks and strengthen its own power. Qi Fenglui is just one of the victims of countless forces in these long years. In the damp and dark prison of immortals, Qi Fenglui sat cross-legged on the stone bed with disheveled hair. The shackles on his limbs slowly flashed runes, making him operate his skills as fast as an old turtle. For cultivators above the Jinden stage, imprisoning them is actually a no-brainer. Because Jinden cultivators can already do a complete fasting, they only need to refine the spiritual energy to maintain their vitality, and they have a golden elixir in their abdomen, which can prevent all diseases. So, just build a cell and throw the offending Jinden cultivator in it, and there is no need for people to deliver water and food. The spiritual energy in the prison of the Qingyuan Temple is not weak, but because of the restrictions, it takes Qi Fenglui dozens of times longer to operate a large Zaoshan. In other words, he could only keep himself alive by practicing day and night. Despite this, his cultivation was still declining at a slow pace. After 10 years, his cultivation, which was originally at the early stage of Jinden, had slipped to the early stage of Jinden, and his Jinden was already showing signs of instability. If he was imprisoned for a full 60 years, Chifenlei's Jinden would definitely break. Even if he could condense the Jinden again in the future, the possibility of advancing to the nascent soul stage in the future would become extremely slim. In fact, it didn't even take us 60 years for some mentally fragile cultivators to give up their lives because they couldn't stand the torture of practicing with all their strength every day, but their cultivation was not improving but declining. One day, the prison of immortals, which had been closed for a whole year, welcomed footsteps. Not long after, a handsome young Taoist priest stood outside Chifenlei's cell. "Haha, brother Qi, I haven't seen you for a year, and you look pretty good. It seems that you are likely to be released from prison, but your golden elixir will be broken. Once the golden elixir is broken, there is no hope for the nascent soul. Why should brother Qi keep the secret?" The young Taoist priest only looked young, but he was actually a cultivator in the middle stage of the Jinden stage who was more than 200 years old. He was also the one who had gambled with Qi Fenglui that year. Qi Fenglui's expression did not fluctuate at all for the Taoist priest who had caused him to fall into such a situation. His eyes were always closed, and he continued to practice the skills without saying a word. "Okay, then I will wait for another 10 years, and brother Qi can enjoy it here, haha." The young Taoist priest was not surprised by the result. After a mocking smile, he left. Not long after he left, Qi Fenglui gradually opened his eyes, and a strong cold light pierced his eyes. The restless breath in his body caused the forbidden shackles to flash wildly, and instantly became as hot as a branding iron. 10 years. Very good. Then we'll fight to the death in 10 years. Qi Fenglui seemed to have a trump card, and was actually preparing to escape from prison and kill people in 10 years. When he came outside, the young monk flew for a while, and met a red-faced old Taoist with a female Jinden cultivator. "Brother Ling, what a coincidence. My master wants to take me to Yueyang Palace. If you have nothing to do, why don't you go with us?" The female Taoist smiled sweetly, and her heart was revealed. All the high-level monks in Qinggyan Temple knew that Qinggyan Temple was actually a branch of Yueyang Palace. If you want to obtain profound Taoist methods, you have to go to Yueyang Palace to seek them. Therefore, as soon as the female Taoist proposed, Taoist Leng was greatly moved. "Hello, Uncle Huo." Suppressing the throbbing in his heart, Taoist Leng first bowed respectfully to the red-faced old Taoist. "Well, how is your master these days?" The red-faced old Taoist asked expressionlessly, without any emotion. "My master is still in seclusion refining magic weapons. It will probably take several years before he can come out." After responding to the red-faced old Taoist, the Taoist priest surnamed Leng said to the female Taoist priest with an apologetic look, "I'm sorry, Junior Sister Murin. Because of what happened 10 years ago, Master ordered me not to go down the mountain until I break through to the late stage of Jinden. I won't go to Yueyang Palace. Uncle Master doesn't let you go down the mountain to prevent you from being retaliated and assassinated by Confucian cultivators, but this time my master is with you." "Master, don't you think so?" The female Taoist priest looked at the red-faced old Taoist priest beside her beggingly. "Humph, you girl." The red-faced old Taoist priest looked at the female Taoist priest helplessly, and then said seriously, "Confucian cultivators are just a small force, and the righteous way is the master of Dajin. Junior brother is good in everything, but he is too cautious. In my opinion, even if those Confucian cultivators have 10 courage, they dare not assassinate my disciples of Qinggyan Temple. Thank you very much, Uncle Master." After the Taoist priest surnamed Leng bowed his hands to thank him, he couldn't help but feel proud in his heart. At this moment, a loud boom sound came from above. Chapter 599, Capturing the Dragon with One Hand. Qinggyan Temple is located on several peaks around Qinggyan Peak. There are clouds and mists around it. Once a mortal enters, he will lose his way. He can only get out by kneeling down and confessing his crime. Today, 2 uninvited guests arrived in the sky above the clouds and mist. One of them has an ordinary face and is dressed as a scholar. The other is dressed in white and has a beautiful appearance, like a fairy in heaven. "Brother Luo, this is Qinggyan Temple. Should we use courtesy before force and send a visiting card?" Dong Lijin said with bright eyes, looking at the mountain protection formation of Qinggyan Temple below. "No need to be so troublesome, just say hello." After saying that, Luo Hong's right palm suddenly turned black, and a 3-meter long black ghost claw condensed above the formation. Then, Luo Hong pressed down with his right palm without saying a word, and saw that the Rakshasa ghost hand also smashed down, and hit a layer of red light shield that suddenly appeared. "Brother Luo, this is the double yang demon slaying formation, which is extremely effective against yin attributed treasures. You." Seeing the sinister aura on the Rakshasa ghost hand, Dong Lijin hurriedly reminded him, but before she could finish her words, she saw the Rakshasa ghost hand actually tore a big hole in the light shield with a blazing red yang fire. "Daoist friends from Qinggyan Temple, come out and see me." At this time, Luo Hong did not rush in, but instead sent a voice message. With the blessing of great magic power, Luo Hong's light words clearly echoed in Qinggyan Peak and several surrounding peaks, and immediately made all the Taoists of Qinggyan Temple look up. The red-faced old Taoist heard the voice and his face turned cold. His eyes flashed with murderous light, leaving the 2 female Taoists behind, and turning into a beam of light, to escape towards the gap in the formation, while sending a voice message. "Daoist friends from which side? You actually came to my Qinggyan Temple to cause trouble?" The red-faced old Taoist was the great elder of Qinggyan Temple and the only cultivator in the temple who was in the middle stage of the nascent soul. Seeing him come forward to deal with it, the Taoist priests of all sizes in the temple could not help but feel relieved, and then they had the idea of watching the excitement. The red-faced old Taoist was not far away, and he flew at full speed in anger, and arrived at the gap in the formation in more than 10 breaths. Looking around, I saw 2 Yueyang cultivators, a man and a woman, hanging in the air outside the formation, and there was no trace of the other party's means of breaking the formation. The red-faced old Taoist had some impression of the female cultivator. She was Mr. Lisan from Hangru Academy. The Hor and Anki Chu she practiced was very pure, and she was not an easy person to deal with. However, if she dared to break into the gate of Qinggyan Temple alone, she would not know how to write the word death. Therefore, after the red-faced old Taoist glanced at Dang Lijun, he focused his attention on the scholar next to her. After sweeping his spiritual sense, the red-faced old Taoist only felt that the other party was covered in a layer of clouds and mist, and he could not see through it or distinguish it clearly, and Mr. Lisan was faintly focused on him. This person is not simple and must be dealt with carefully. Although the red-faced old Taoist was startled, he had the support of the sect at this time, and he asked himself that, even if a cultivator in the late nascent soul stage came in person, he would not be able to defeat him in a short time. So he did not show any fear, and asked with a frosty face, "Who are you, and why did you break my formation?" "Haha, I just said hello. I hope you don't blame me. My last name is Luo Hong, and I'm a wandering cultivator in the mountains. I'm here for no other reason than to ask you to hand over one person from King Gayan Temple." Luo Hong chuckled and responded politely, "Hand over the person?" The red-faced Taoist priest pondered for a moment, then realized who Luo Hong was talking about. Then he showed a sneer on his face, stared at Dang Lijun and said, "What? Hangru Academy is going to stand up for the disciples who have entered the world? Fairy Dang, have you thought clearly about the consequences of doing so? Dao, you have misunderstood. This matter was led by Luo, and it has nothing to do with Hangru Academy. Luo and Shifeng Lei are old acquaintances. Please give me some face. He has been in prison for 10 years, and it's almost time." Luo Hong actually put on a pleasant look at this time, which was completely different from when he broke the formation without saying a word just now. "Humph, there is no face to talk about this matter. Since it is said to be a 60-year period, it must be imprisoned for a 60-year period. If he is released early, how can my King Gayan Temple still stand in Dajin?" The red-faced Taoist priest was unwilling to give in, and said loudly and forcefully. After hearing this, all the Taoist priests in the temple were excited and full of enthusiasm, and they wanted to contribute to King Gayan Temple immediately. "Oh, then don't stand there," Luo Hong said casually. "What?" The red-faced Taoist priest immediately suspected that he had heard it wrong, but he soon lost the mood to distinguish. As soon as the voice fell, Luo Hong sacrificed the Rakshasa ghost hand without hesitation, condensed a huge ghost hand and slapped the red-faced Taoist priest. Late stage overhaul. Sensing the mana released by Luo Hong, the red-faced Taoist priest's face suddenly changed. He didn't dare to take the Rakshasa ghost hand head on. He flashed and retreated back to the formation. The gap that Luo Hong had just blasted out had already been restored at this time, but the Shuanggyang demon slaying formation in its normal state obviously couldn't stop Luo Hong's offensive. The red-faced Taoist priest knew this very well, so after retreating into the formation, he immediately sacrificed his own life-saving magic weapon, Qianyang Fire Pearl. The dragon pattern on the surface of the pearl flashed, and the next moment it came alive, twisting its body and flying away from the pearl. In the blink of an eye, it grew into a huge gilded fire dragon more than 30 feet long. As soon as the dragon appeared, it suddenly opened its mouth and sucked in the countless red flames condensed by the formation into its stomach. Suddenly, not only did the flames on its body become stronger, but its aura also surged, and it was faintly ready to break through the late stage of the nascent soul. However, despite displaying such amazing magical powers, the red-faced old Taoist's face did not look good at all. At this moment, he solemnly transmitted the message to the whole temple. "All disciples of King Gayan Temple immediately enter the center of the formation and fight against the enemy with me. Brother Ling, you quickly go to your master and notify him to come out of retreat immediately. Go." While he was speaking, the Rakshasa ghost hand had already fled to the vicinity of the dragon's head. The red sun burst out of the eyes of the gilded fire dragon, and it opened its mouth and spit out a thick column of demon-slaying flames. It stands to reason that under such a yang spiritual flame, a magical weapon like the Rakshasa ghost hand, which is full of yin energy, will certainly be severely damaged. However, the silk of the ghost-faced silkworm is impervious to water and fire, and the mere demon-slaying red flame can't hurt it at all. So, Luo Hong clenched his right fist fiercely, driving the Rakshasa ghost hand to face the fire column head-on, and continued to blast upwards, smashing it hard on the dragon head of the gilded fire dragon with a bamboo-breaking momentum. The force of this blow was really fierce, and the huge dragon head of the gilded fire dragon suddenly dented a large part, and it fell backward with a scream. Taking this opportunity, Luo Hong suddenly raised his magic power, and the Rakshasa ghost hand instantly doubled in size, turning into a giant hand more than 6 feet long, with a shrill ghost howl, and pinched the body a little behind the dragon head. Not good. Seeing this, the red-faced old Taoist knew that he was going to be in trouble, and quickly cast a spell to make the body of the gilded fire dragon expand again, trying to stretch out the Rakshasa ghost hand. But as Luo Hong slowly exerted force with his right hand, the Rakshasa ghost hand was not stretched apart, but instead pinched the dragon's body so hard that it caved in. Chapter 600, Satisfying Your Cravings. The gilded fire dragon groaned in pain at this time, struggling desperately with all its means. The dragon's tail swept over the earth and rocks, and the red fire scattered and melted the golden fossils. Although it made a great momentum, in Dong Legend's eyes, it was just a loach that was pinched by someone. In the big formation, the red-faced old Taoist looked anxious, and his hands changed the spells quickly, constantly urging the disciples in the temple. Although this gilded fire dragon was only the power of his life magic weapon, even if it was destroyed, it would not hurt the essence of the gem, but it contained the spirit of an 8th level fire dragon. If it was pinched to death by Luo Hong like this, the power of the speed would be greatly reduced in the future. Haha, it's quite resistant. After a stalemate, Luo Hong's eyes suddenly flashed fiercely, and his right palm pressed down violently. With a dong sound, the Rakshasa ghost hand pressed the gilded fire dragon tightly on the red spirit cover. As the Taoists of Qingyang Temple entered the center of the formation, the power of the Shuangyang demon slaying formation nearly doubled. It did not break even after the heavy blow, but instead blasted out a large piece of red flames to fight back. However, neither the Rakshasa ghost hand nor the gilded fire dragon were afraid of these red flames. Sir, please show mercy. We can discuss the matter of handing over the person. After trying all means to help the gilded fire dragon break free, the red-faced old Taoist suddenly softened his attitude. Hearing this, Dong Lijian couldn't help but look at Luo Hong. If this was all, Qi Fenglui could be rescued, it would be acceptable. Bullnose, Luo said that today we will shake the foundation of your Qingyang temple, and this is just the beginning. Luo Hong had no intention of letting things go. First, because his purpose of coming here was not pure. If he didn't hurt Qingyang temple, how could he alarm the Yueyang palace behind it? Secondly, the red-faced old Taoist was clearly delaying the battle. The power of the formation was still increasing, and he did not order anyone to bring Chifeng Lei. It would be a foolish dream to trick him to stop with empty words. As soon as the voice fell, Luo Hong laughed grimly and suddenly spit out the power of his right palm. The huge force that suddenly doubled suddenly burst out, and he actually broke the gilded fire dragon in two. The moment the magical power was broken, the gilded fire dragon shattered into countless golden and red spiritual lights. In this dazzling scene, a red stream of light was particularly conspicuous. Just as it was about to escape, the Rakshasa ghost hand covered it on the head, and then the ghost hand condensed by countless Yansha Ki stretched out, grabbed it and pulled it back. The spirit of this 8th level fire dragon was weak at the time. How could it withstand the endless ghost hands? Without struggling twice, it was dragged into the black giant palm. Seeing this, the red-faced Taoist priest in the formation immediately became so angry that his face turned purple. He gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, you actually took my Jiao soul. I will fight you today." After that, the red-faced Taoist priest swallowed the Qianyang fire pearl, turned into a red escape light, and disappeared in front of Luo Hong. Luo Hong naturally knew that the old Taoist priest was not running away, but going back to mobilize the sect's foundation, which was something similar to the sword energy hidden in the Danqi mountain. In the eyes of the formation, while the disciples of Qingyang Temple were supplying mana to the formation, they were also paying attention to the battle on the edge of the formation. Now seeing that their elder was defeated in just a few rounds, they couldn't help but panic. The female Taoist priest with the surname Mirang saw her master retreat, and although she was also very anxious, she couldn't lose her composure at this time. After her eyes fixed, she suddenly said, "Don't panic, fellow disciples. Even if the enemy has a high level of cultivation, as long as there are tens of thousands of Kingan disciples presiding over the formation at the same time, the enemy will definitely not be able to break in for a while. As long as we can hold on for a while, the seniors from Yueyang Palace will come to help. So, don't be confused now, and do your best to help the formation. Yueyang Palace is an excellent spiritual pillar. After being reminded by the female Taoist priest, many Taoist priests calmed down, and some even thought about performing better, in order to be noticed by the masters from Yueyang Palace. The mountain protection formation is the first line of defense of the sect. If it is not destroyed in advance, it is not easy to break it head on. What's more, although Kingan Temple is not a top sect with a late stage master, it has the support of Yueyang Palace behind it, and the formation it arranged is also from the hands of the formation master of Yueyang Palace, and its grade is comparable to that used by the top sects. Generally speaking, it is true as the female Taoist said. Even if it is a major overhaul in the later stage, it will take time to consume the spiritual stones stored in Kingan Temple in the manner of tens of thousands of Kingan Taoists to break through. And for such a large formation with someone in charge, the method of breaking through the surface with a point is not very effective. The master of the formation will naturally mobilize forces in time to fight. In other words, now Luo Hong has no chance to exploit loopholes, except to use force. Although the Taixu Healing Talisman can easily allow Luo Hong to invade the formation, it can be said to be a pure waste to use it here. Brother Luo, do you want me to attack together? Dong Lijian asked tentatively. No, it's not convenient for you after all. Luo can do it alone. After Luo Hong said lightly, he turned his right palm to put away the Rakshasa ghost hand, and at the same time, he sacrificed the heavenly demon flag that had not been used for a long time. King Feng, it's up to you. Luo Hong secretly transmitted the order. Don't worry, sir. This formation can be broken in a moment. However, I dare to ask you, sir, to let me satisfy my cravings. King Feng responded respectfully immediately, but after a pause, he made a request. It's no wonder. Now is not like when Luo Hong was in retreat in Huangfeng Valley. After coming to Dajin, Luo Hong often appeared in the places where the human race lived. The foreign demons in the heavenly demon flag saw it, and were greedy in their hearts. Even King Feng, who had a great spiritual wisdom, couldn't help but want to enjoy the souls of the cultivators. Okay, but you are not allowed to destroy the spiritual wisdom of these cultivators. Luo Hong didn't mind feeding these foreign demons, but he couldn't let them wreak havoc. He didn't want to destroy Kingan Temple. Although not being able to hurt their spiritual wisdom is like eating a cake and only licking the outermost layer of cream, it is better than having nothing to eat. King Feng knew his position very well. He didn't try to bargain. After thanking him, he took the heavenly demon flag and fled to the sky. Looking at the heavenly demon flag that gradually turned into a small dot, Dong Lijian looked at Luo Hong with some confusion, wondering what he was going to do by offering the magic weapon so far away. At this moment, the terrifying sound waves of the roar of thousands of demons suddenly swept down. The disciples in Kingan Temple thought that Luo Hong was performing the sound wave magic, and they all closed their ears. However, these shrill and strange demon roars still reached their minds, until the master of the formation strengthened the prohibition of the forbidden consciousness, so that everyone could get peace. After the demon roar subsided, everyone found that the roar just now had no special effect, except making people upset. But obviously the great monks in the late nascent soul stage would not do meaningless things, which made everyone more worried, and they all looked around. Finally, when everyone found a sudden shadow, they realized that they were in big trouble. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.